Stream is live.
The stream is live.
Denmothers.
I don't see it live in the YouTube. Let me double check it.
This thing says live.
There it is. I see it going. And then I just heard Jared. Let me play some new intro theme music. Here it is.
Obama killed his chef. Obama killed his chef. Everyone on the right and everyone on the left knows Obama killed his chef. Oh no! Obama killed his chef. Obama killed his chef. He's responsible for the man's death. Obama killed his chef. Oh no!
Okay, did Obama kill his chef?
You don't know that story?
I don't know the story.
It rings a bell. That guy, yeah, that's right. His chef died.
His chef died mysteriously, like out in their lake.
Oh.
That's why that's funny, is because it like reminds people of like a wacky story that happened. Obama killed his chef.
Well, I got our ad read if you want it.
Yeah, go.
Okay. So today's episode of Porch Time is brought to you by The Acolyte, a Star Wars story.
Uh-oh.
Lightsabers feeling a little dull? Do you tire of the hero's journey, fleshed out archetypes, and endearing characters? Well, hold on to your merchandising opportunities. The Acolyte is here. Meet May, the spunky, wise, and supremely competent Whammon Jedi, as she girl bosses her way across the galaxy, fighting a sinister but equally strong and independent Sith Lord of color, whose only real character flaws are being a victim of oppressive star systems that drove her to a life of crime. The Acolyte is full of all the Disney Star Wars elements you've grown to love over the last decade. Unresolved loose ends, disjointed and conflicting narratives from writers who clearly didn't communicate. Well, that just happened, jokes. The racial and sexual diversity of a San Fran Google office, and plenty of key-jingling member berries to keep you saying, I've got a bad feeling about this. The Acolyte, because fuck you.
Did you know that I heard the lady who's directing it, Leslie Headland, you know that lady?
Yeah.
She is the one who was Harvey Weinstein's aide.
Yep.
The star of The Acolyte is her wife.
Wait, really?
Talk about some nepotism or something like that.
I never get tired of hearing
Weird.
Gary from Nerdrotic anytime he mentions Leslie Headland, just reminding you that she was Harvey Weinstein's personal assistant.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, see, here it is. Well, first off, Obama's beloved chef died of accidental drowning. Autopsy confirms. It was just out in their lake out at the Obama residence. So a bunch of people got a conspiracy theory that there was some sort of like secret love affair and who knows what. But that's all just, Rebecca Henderson, Leslie Headland cast her wife, Rebecca Henderson, in the role, giving her a lightsaber that can transform into a whip.
That sounds so fucking dumb.
That's really dumb.
And that's the person who helped Harvey Weinstein rape a bunch of A-list actors.
Here's the thing, though. I've never delved into the like extended universe of Star Wars. I'm sure they had something just as retarded as a lightsaber whip.
Oh, I heard from
the more things go on, the
Ryan
more
Cannell that's been around. Yeah,
I'm sure it had. Like it's just this. It's the same issue I have with all like stories that go on too long. You can't just have them learn the same things over and over, so they have to add new stupid shit all the time. Like the Flash used to be able to run like 1,000 miles an hour. Now he can run like 1,000,000 times the speed of light or whatever. It's like nobody can. His arch enemy is Captain Cold. Whose gun moves slower than a bullet. So how is this guy ever? Oh yeah, he's got like it's his dumbest character ever. Like he wears like an Eskimo coat everywhere.
And his
Anyway,
gun is his gun like the Moonanites laser gun in Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
yeah, kind of, but it's yeah, pretty much. It's like a flamethrower, but cold. Like it, I couldn't dodge it, but the Flash should be able to. But I remember playing. Did you ever play The Force Unleashed?
I never played any Star Wars game really.
Okay, so I remember thinking it was really cool when I was a kid when it came out, and I'm playing through it, and at one point, the base you're on is about to get taken down by a Star Destroyer, and your Jedi Master is on the line with you, and he goes, "Bring it down." He's like, "Bring it down with the Force." He's like, "It's massive," and he's like, "Do it," and you gotta like mash X while your guy that's standing on a planet just literally pulls a Star Destroyer out of the sky and smashes it to the ground. That's just a syndrome of things that go on too long. They just have to get fucking stupid like that.
I remember
Yeah,
even
it
as
gets
a
so
kid, I was
great.
like, even as a kid, when I saw the Jurassic Park 2, where I was like, wait, because like the first one, like,
They did it again?
Tyrannosaurus Rex. Well, yeah, it's like, well, what are you gonna do? Well, we'll do Tyrannosaurus Rex again. Okay, but we already did that. Well, how do we make it better? 3 Tyrannosaurus Rex. Oh, okay. And I realized, oh, well, that's just the same movie, but there's 3 now, and
And
that's
they have
stupid.
to get bigger and bigger, and then they came up with the idea of splicing them and having them be what? There's some sort of genetic mutants that get created in lab, which that drove me nuts about the Alien franchise. Like, I thought the Alien franchise was so much more interesting, imagining some planet that was so nasty it evolved that type of giant wasp that is the alien. But no, it was created in a lab by creation machines. That like the Hollywood, the atheists are all creationists when it comes to their stupid little monsters and stuff. But
Like, I don't
There
know if
seems to
any
be just
series
like this.
got.
There's this other. Oh, go on.
Like I say, like I don't know if any series got lamer because of the sequels than Matrix. It's like, the end of the Matrix, like, wow, what a great world. I don't need to know anything else about that universe. And then they made sequels, and I'm like, oh.
yeah, 100%.
I know there's always people that are like, don't you wonder how this happened? Like, not really. Like, don't you want to know the origin of the Joker? No. God, no. That ruins the Joker. I don't want to know.
Well, half of like what made Heath Ledger's Joker is that he had an ambiguous origin. He kept telling lies. Like, he kept telling a different origin story.
Well, that's most of the Jokers ever. Like, they very rarely give the Joker an origin story, and anytime they do, it's retarded.
Yeah, but part of Heath Ledger's spookiness was how much he was obviously lying about it, because he kept telling a different story and a different story.
Yeah.
So he's a sociopath. The Mad Max stuff that's going on right now, I mean, that doesn't sound great. And then obviously they've girl bossed everything out, and I don't know why they just keep going with those. I've heard that they're okay. I didn't like Fury Road very much, but I was.
Oh, man, that's like a sacrilegious opinion.
Yeah, well, I was on to Fury Road. Fury Road is one of the first movies that did the thing of sacrifice the hero and replace with a girl boss, and nobody noticed yet because it was like the first in line. And then Logan did it, and everyone still loved it with Logan. Like, oh boy, with Logan. And then Star Wars did it, and it was like, okay, we smell what you're cooking, we're getting it. And then they just did it with everything. He-Man, they did it with all the things. The lead guy's got to step aside and get moved out of the way, and a girl boss has to take over.
Does he die in Fury Road? I didn't remember that. I barely remember
just gets
it.
put aside, yeah.
Jonathan Pajau
I do remember thinking that was kind of dumb, because I do remember watching it, and then he says, like, yeah, the next movie I make is going to be about Furiosa. I was like, but why? Like, isn't this your character?
So George Miller is a pretty darn good talent, and they're obviously trying to replace Mad Max with Furiosa. They're trying to, just like they tried to replace Luke Skywalker with Rey, and just like they did that in every single little series. Just like as Gary always calls it, neurotic, the girl who's the key to everything.
Yeah,
we must save the girl who's the key to everything, who's on the hero's journey, who just has to realize she's already great. And but the reason you didn't remember what happened to him in Fury Road was because George Miller's a pretty good director, and he did that purposefully to you. And Jonathan Pajau had a pretty good video on it years ago, kind of showing the symbolism, because he did a lot of stuff of symbolizing in the show. You can see it, of elevating Furiosa and deflating Mad Max, and then at the end, Mad Max just like her getting risen up above the people, and Mad Max just slinking away, and he like put that imagery in there, and so I think that was the start. It's just a more well done version of what every hack writer like said. I'm a genius. I've thought of a way to replace the lead guy with a girl boss. Since then, and everybody goes, whoa, genius. I need a trilogy origin story of Small Wonder.
I just enjoyed it.
Credits, man.
I enjoyed it just as an action movie. Like it was satisfying in that respect. So like, I didn't really get bothered by
the vehicles. Are good,
yeah. I mean, like for me, the thing that was just dumb is like the whole movie is like the plot is we must get to the place, and then the movie is the adventure of getting to the place, and then they get there like, whoops, we're supposed to go back the other way that we just came.
See, I feel a spectacle like Mad Max is kind of it's such a cool fucking action idea, and the effects are awesome that you almost just don't really care that much about the story. That's the way it was with I remember Spider-Man No Way Home was like the last Marvel movie everybody liked, and it's because they brought back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and the story was dumb as fuck. Like it was just stupid, schlocky.
Where all three of them come together?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was the word. I mean, we're always in relative land because we're
no. I'm not. I liked
it exists in the world. Yeah.
I liked the movie because there's not really a good way to do that. At least I've never seen.
But they've always got to like open up the universe, and just like we talked about, like as soon as they open up the universe, it actually limits the stories. As we talked about with Red Letter Media and Star Wars and all that sorts of stuff, is that you make your universe too big and you make it multiverse, all of a sudden you limit the stories to having to be save the universe. Like can't just be like some simple idea or that usually is better. Like, that might be one of the things that's better about Mad Max is it's usually just kind of more simple thing. Like we got to get there and we got to get back,
like we need to save the Village Rec Center. Like those movies can be just as good as we have to save the universe.
All the universes.
Like,
well, that's kind of something. That's something they actually did well with that first Tom Holland Spider-Man movie because, like, I was wondering about that because they just kept progressing, like upping the ante more and more and more, and you're like, they can't really go much past like this can't be universe ending. It's just Spider, and then they just did like a normal he fought the Vulture who was like stealing shit, and that, but it was nice. It was a nice.
Yeah, it's nice whenever stuff's simple, like it's down like a little lower level, which is why I kind of like Daredevil because Daredevil just stays in Hell's Kitchen,
Oh, the series is great.
Stuff just keeps scaling up the universe, and if you ever like looked at like the Marvel comic books, it actually does. I mean, I guess the movie sort of already did. Like they were battling planets, and then next thing you know, they're battling like Galactus style Titans that were universe eaters and all that sort of stuff. It just keeps scaling up and up.
I know,
and up and up.
And I'm always anytime I watch that kind of shit, I'm like, what the fuck is Captain America gonna do in this situation? You got like Thor and Captain Marvel and all these like Superman level people, and he's like I could probably. I know he's like the tactical leader. I guess that's his thing. But who does he fight? Like, how does it make any sense that he can fight Thanos and Thor also has to fight?
Steroids, man. It's pretty good steroids.
Yeah, I know he can bench press like 1,000 pounds and he can run like 38 miles an hour. Like he's way stronger than me. These guys can like move planets and shit.
Well, speaking of nepotism and casting. Did you guys look at all at Northwest doing the Lion King?
Hang on, just like
no. Oh, so I guess I realized TikTok changed something because it used to let me watch.
Now you have to be enrolled in it to watch it.
Yeah, now it wants me to enroll, and I don't want to give the. Chinese
How dare you not give China your everything?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I just don't want to.
I don't think I'll get in trouble with these TikTok videos. These are people's actual videos that they put online of this thing. But this was all over everything, man.
All over everything. This is Kanye and Kardashian.
Yeah, for the 30th anniversary of The Lion King, and they got the daughter in, and there's all these stories all over the internet that they walked to the front of the line over all these like kids that had like made it through this like long audition process and stuff. They insisted on putting her in their own costume.
Oh,
Oh God.
You gotta see the ending of it. It's
so
great.
it's like actual production of Lion King.
It's the 30th anniversary of Lion King, and people paid $3,000 for this.
Why would you do that to kids?
Whoa.
I remember there's this dude who was big into the local sports scene. He was my neighbor. And one year his daughter, she tried out for the volleyball team and she didn't make it. And she came home and cried. He went in there and just chewed their ass out. And then the next day they had a new list and she was suddenly in there. I was like, if that were me, I would be like, Dad, I'm not going into that locker room. I'm not doing it. That's I am so fucking embarrassed that you did this.
This guy is one of my favorite TikTokers, and all he does is puts himself as what he says here. I'm the creative director for The Lion King at the Hollywood Bowl, who cast Northwest as Simba. And, they dress her. They insisted on dressing her themselves.
That's how much pull they have, I guess. Between
Because
that makes sense.
their production company is actually part owner of the production company. It is.
Oh,
Did you hear that? No.
Jeez, man.
I love that guy. He has so many good videos like that. Yeah, there's people all over the internet making fun of it, but we're already in an era of nepotism casting.
Just can't wait to be king. Oh, I just can't wait to be king. Oh, I just can't wait.
There's good on there. Yeah. Enough. We're in a world of stupid stuff. I can't believe they dressed her like that, though. It's so funny. But I mean, TikTok's just overrun with that. That's all that's going on TikTok right now, despite the president just getting a verdict and nobody cares. And Chad D. Well, actually, people care, but
now's a good time to remind you, just like Troy Levitt just did to consensually, of course, smash that like and subscribe button.
consensually.
I can't get off if it's consensually. Like, make me come to your house and I'll force you into it. We'll role play that.
Oh, consent. Are we getting into Maven already?
No, I'm not getting into Maven because, first I had to give this little thought about something when stuff's really bad and really great, but bad, but great. Like when Chad Daybell and like President Trump get guilties, I have to remember this.
And it was really, really healing.
Yeah, that's so wonderful, isn't it? I mean, I have to be careful because, I feel passion sometimes, and I smile when I get energetic, and people are like, "Why are you? You shouldn't be ever expressing anything other than sorrow and grief.
You're just experienced
That was
Duper's
so
delight.
funny. I know he like has to physically grab his cheeks and like shove them into a frown. Oh shit! I'm smiling about child murderers again. Okay, think of the view. Don't think of the views. No, that'll make you smile more.
Just remember, we can pin this on the Mormons.
We're not saying it's the Mormon Church. We're not. It's just, but they did come from the belief of the Mormon Church, obviously.
Yeah, he said that. He said he's going to be on Court TV tonight or something like that, which I'm sure he's on to.
But I don't think what Love Tall Horses and other Orthodox Mormons sort of take into account is that Mormonism's most sacred scripture, the Book of Mormon,
Oh God.
in I believe the 4th chapter of the opening book in the Book of Mormon, First Nephi, it has, a prophet of God receiving a vision that he should murder a man in cold blood, steal from him, and lie by dressing up as this person so that he can deceive others. Of course, I'm talking about Nephi, the prophet Nephi, who in the 4th chapter of First Nephi receives a revelation from God that he's supposed to chop off Laban's head to get the brass plates, dress in Laban's clothing, and then even God gives, I think, changes Nephi's voice to sound like Laban so that he can get out of there and bring the plates. And then there's the verse in, again, I believe, First Nephi chapter 4, it is better that one man perish than that a nation dwindle in unbelief. Well,
Yeah, sounds like
that sets
consequentialist
up
ethics, John Dehlin.
is
Pretty sure you're a fan.
someone who takes the Book of Mormon very seriously. It sets up the idea that, Mormons believe that the Holy Ghost can influence us, that we learn to listen to the Holy Ghost through our thoughts and feelings. The Holy Ghost can reveal things to us.
Do you did you ever hear anybody in your entire life take that far? Like, we should maybe kill
No.
somebody. Like, the most I ever heard come from Mormons with that is like, "Ugh, how do we reconcile this? This is bad." I never heard them say, "This is what we gotta do."
It's like, well, I don't love that part where he lops off his head.
That's what I always heard.
See, well, I just totally misinterpreted it when I was a little kid. Because when I was a kid, I didn't think of the he did it to get the brass plates thing. When I was a kid, I was like, oh, yeah, it's because he was trying to kill his brothers, and he'd probably chase him and kill them after. But obviously, like, the scripture does say, like, no, because if you don't kill this guy, you won't have that book, and then we're all fucked.
Yeah.
In the United States, came out with the number one nonfiction book of 2023 in Utah, and it was Visions of Glory. Now, here's a dark thought, Megan. Some people want to claim that that's because Mormon Stories covered Visions of Glory, and then a bunch of ex-Mormons all went out and bought Visions of Glory, and that's why it was such a top.
How could it not have a contributed
selling
to it?
book in 2020?
No, it couldn't have been that.
So what
Yeah.
is Visions
So you're
of
Mormon
Glory?
Oprah.
Is it just Is it just like near-death
Kevin's-
experiences?
Yeah, Kevin has the book, and it's basically just this guy who had a bunch of dreams, and in the dreams he saw the end of times or something like that. The dreams didn't in that book tell him to go murder his kids, Then the lore is that guy took the ideas to some general authorities to ask some general authorities if they could receive visions as just average members like that. And then they passed along that, like, yeah, they said that, like, they didn't like 100% condone it, but they didn't say no. So like they kind of like started this little underground floaty thing that, like, hey, we can receive our own visions. And that's the tangential tie to then Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow started reading and listening to those things a whole bunch and getting their own visions. And through their own visions, started seeing people as some sort of like zombie people and saw their own kids as zombie people and people taken over by demons, and they ended up killing their kids from that. So
the reason I ask is because like they're speaking Mormon stories. Anytime they bring up visions of glory, they speak about it in the same way that like I don't know 80s housewives talked about Catcher in the Rye, you know, or Butters.
Exactly like that.
John Lennon. Like that's the only thing. The only message I can get from this book is that I'm supposed to go kill John Lennon.
Exactly. Like I was actually.
I can't believe that Deseret Book hasn't taken it down and apologized for. Wait a minute, because a dude that did a bad thing read this. I don't know. I haven't read it, but it sounds like they're just talking about near-death experiences and visions.
That's all it is.
Which, if you can take that and you justify murdering children with it, then you've taken a couple leaps.
Yeah, it's 4 or 5 steps down the road. Hey, Nephi wasn't crazy, says Forrest. He just hears voices and head telling him to kill others. The only thing I ever heard about that from Mormons, though, is that I don't know of many Mormons who just were totally like every Mormon had to wrestle with that one.
Yeah,
you know, they didn't like love it. They were all like, killing them. That's a tough one.
People were very uncomfortable with that.
But the visions of glory thing, to jump to Chad Daybell and to all that sorts of stuff, I mean, the way I would think about it is that Daybell and those characters, they would find some sort of nuttiness no matter what and where, and to like kind of track it back to say, it's like one of the things John says is like, I think you can still buy this for sale on Amazon or something, like they're supposed to ban it, like some sort of like innocuous. Even John himself said he read the book and it was a slog and it was boring. And like, yeah, so crazy people use the crazy ideas to go do a crazy thing, but I guarantee that they could find crazy ideas anywhere. It wasn't like, oh, you found this one thing and then it made me go kill somebody. But John's job is to tie it back to Mormonism. Like, and I mean, it's one of the things I've been on about for a while, because like they also want to pull up that stuff about the what were those murders, that TV show that just came out last week.
I can't remember the guy
in it.
Yeah, I know.
Lafferty brothers.
Yeah.
He mentioned it, and that's, I mean, definitely something that happened in Mormonism, but I don't know how you could have become that from the Mormonism I was brought up with. Like, I can't.
No, I know. You look at Lori Daybell's life, and you'll realize that she would have used whatever belief system she grew up in to justify the shit that she did, because she was just terrible. Like, she was terrible before she met him.
One step further, or maybe 5 or 10, but it's a matter of steps further for Chad and Lori. And it's not just them, the Lafferty brothers. Like,
so everybody's been like trying to make this case lately, and I mean, I think that's what half of the shows on TV are, under the banner of heaven. That's what it was, type stuff. And it's all trying their best to lasso the mainstream in with the fringes as much as they possibly can, which Benjamin Park released his book. I'm pretty sure he got like a nice little gold star from the Atlantic and the CIA or something for his little book that says, oh, hey, the Mormon stuff is called American Zionism. Here's your gold star. Let's see, where is it? Here.
About a month ago, I delivered a lecture at Utah Valley University on Mormonism and Christian nationalism. I traced a long story about how Mormons came from distrusting the American government to tepidly accepting it.
Is there any other easy narrative book to write in the world right now? Like, just everybody just begging any midwit to write this book from the beginning of time. Like, that's just all of MSNBC wants some midwit to pick up this mantle, and you did it, Benjamin Park. Way to go.
To eventually being full-fledged members of the Religious Right Coalition. I talk about Joseph Smith.
Wow, deep. And guess who read this and thought, whoa, deep. Nuance Hose read this and said, whoa, deep.
Talk about George, how both of them envisioned a Mormon kingdom outside the American polity. Then I discussed Ezra Taft Benson and the embrace of this conspiratorial mindset. And then I had a whole section on Tim Ballard and his hypothesis trilogy and his reimagined.
When I was in college, I mean, I got straight A's. If anybody want to know out there, I graduated summa cum laude, straight A's, and I agree that makes me about a C- STEM person. But the way I figured out how to do it is I figured out that basically what was supposed to be written was laid out before me by every single teacher ever. And this guy had this little story laid out before him by every dipshit writer in all of the greater academia, whatever world right now, writing on Christian nationalism.
Imagining of American
Gold star. You put like a little gold star on his head.
founding
Not a Jewish one.
fathers as closeted Mormons. And then I gave this conclusion that I'm about to show, in which I tied everything together by showing
You
that
tied it. You tied it together. Whoa! You connected these dots. Oh my gosh! Academic
while
brain.
Mormons continue to have
Groundbreaking.
their unique flavor of patriotism, it is increasingly integrated in the broader evangelical white Christian
Oh,
nationalism.
it fits right in there. It does. Hey, it fits right in with it. I see. Who would have made that like
The
leap?
same movement that had
Only this big, beautiful head right here would make that leap.
previously seen them as enemies.
Now they're Betty.
The Mormon flavor of Christian nationalism, in other words, is becoming increasingly indistinguishable from the larger movement.
Whoa!
Even if
Indistinguishable.
Washington, Lincoln,
Those words weren't already written before you already wrote them somewhere.
and the Puritans are reimagined as Mormon in Ballard's telling, their Mormonism is a mere subset of the MAGA ideology.
Oh!
A distinct
He's spitting. He's
yet
spitting.
devoted battalion within the larger evangelical army. Deseret is no longer an isolated nation, divorced from fallen polities, the
Divorced.
peculiar kingdom that Joseph Smith had envisioned, but a western suburb of America's fundamentalist capital, with allegiance to a particular preset of political and cultural positions serving as one's passport. George Buchanan would have cringed at such a concession.
Now, I don't usually get that spicy and go on a rant in academic presentations, but I
spicy.
felt that topic deserved it.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, the entire
That's
presentation
this topic that'll get you a little gold star.
Got
Like
the
that's
spices out of that one.
they're gonna like the CIA agents are gonna take your little paper and put it right on the fridge. You're gonna put it on the fridge with a little gold star on it.
which is over 40 minutes long, is now available on YouTube. I will link to it in my
It'll
link
be so
tree
interesting.
in case you're interested.
I could write your book, you know that. Like I could write it. Like I could have written it in like 3 days, but first I'd also have to.
Prison
Pretty
rules
much
fight
fight
to
you.
prison rules fight to the death. This guy, Patrick Mason, Anthony Miller. Go.
Prison rules. I take Jackson Washburn.
No, Anthony could kick all their asses. I know that.
Yeah, Anthony could beat him up. I'm pretty sure
Anthony's
that's-
got like a 0.9 Tanner score. These guys are 0.25 at best.
Oh, look at it. So Tanner and what's her name? They went down and talked with the girl at the Girl Interrupted, who they were trolling or something, and I guess they're all best of buddy now.
Yeah.
They had a little thing, and I just have one little thing to say on it because it was otherwise boring. He was sitting on her couch. When he was sitting on her couch, this irritated me. Is this me? I noticed the RFM complaining about Brad Whitbeck eating on film.
I know.
So, like, if he's gonna point out his pet peeves, I'm gonna point out mine. This guy's in their house. He's in their house,
But you
and
got
he's
his feet
sitting
on
on
their couch?
their couch like this. Like, that's the only thing I got out of this video. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, you're at their house. How are you sitting like that? Come on, rude. Anyway, let's see John DeLynn not smile at the Trump verdict.
Up is a choice. Silence is a choice. And to me, silence is more harmful sometimes than overt acts.
Whoa, that's deep.
This today is blowing my mind. I'm reading now that the Donald Trump verdict
Watch the smiles. Watch them smiles.
has been reached, and that it's going to be announced any minute. So I don't like to
Oh,
give
it's so
Mormon
giddy.
stories to.
John, you said you'd watch the smiles, man. You said you'd watch them.
And talk about like necessarily
Wait
have
till I point out the things that Maven smiles over.
Oh Jesus!
Oh boy.
how any of us feel about that, just because I don't like to get off mission in terms of what we try and focus on. But within the next 20 minutes, I think we're going to have a Trump verdict today as well. Isn't that kind of mind blowing?
It is.
It's just the way
Kinda.
history unfolded. It wasn't just something that complete hacks made happen today. Let's see. First, they got to give their little caveat of
We're not political.
how'd you know that?
And that it's going to be announced any minute. So I don't like to get political on Mormon stories to even talk about like necessarily how any of us feel about that, just because I don't like to get off mission in terms of what we try and focus on. But within the next 20
Well, they said it once, so I guess they gotta.
He's a registered Republican. Did you know that?
Oh yeah, it's a.
But it's like a subversively registered Republican.
Well, it's not
To
about.
me, it's not about politics. It's not about Republican or Democrat or anything on the spectrum politically. It's about undue influence and coercive control, and the fact that Trump has
like what the judge used on the jurors, or no,
Yeah.
that's not.
he has such a large following of people who aren't willing to look at his flaws. And I think that's problematic no matter
Alright,
what
thank you.
leader it
Please be
is.
seated.
I think it doesn't matter whether it's, which
Sure, they don't. That's all
Man.
ridiculous. But that's all that really comes out of that. They were giddy about it. But I don't know. Do you want to go to Maven next, or do you want to talk about the Libertarian Party shenanigans?
Well, I did one of the things I was going to point out. I love anytime. So with the they them pronouns, right? There's always like a new way that it sounds stupid. Like when the more you hear people use it, the more you're exposed to ways that like sentences that you wouldn't have thought of before that sound even stupider than possible. So she's talking about one of her friends who is non-binary, and that in the sentence she uses.
Oh, that gal.
We went to the tattoo shop. It was just they and I. That sounds retarded. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I heard Peter Boghossian even saying this week that like he's willing to do people's whatever, but he's not willing to butcher language. So he won't do they, but he will call like a he or she or something like that. But no language butchering.
My rule is if you can trick my brain, then sure.
So I guess because we're already talking about Trump and stuff, because I don't think Maven gets too hard into Trump, although everything ties back into the MAGA movement.
Oh, yeah.
It's all part of right-wing authoritarianism.
Chemical prophylaxis.
Man, the Libertarian Party was so embarrassing.
That is crazy.
Libertarian
I don't remember
ideas.
I don't remember the last time they've been not embarrassing, but this is like exceptional. This dude like supported vax and mask mandates. Like there doesn't get less libertarian than that.
I know. Basically, he says corporations should be able to choose. I guess because they're libertarian. He's also into being fine with story hour for kids. This is when Michael Mouse was sharing. It was cracking me up. Michael Mouse shared this. Like, here's pictures of what's the guy's name? It's I forget the guy's name. No, this guy. But this is the libertarian candidate right here. I forget his name, but here's the Trudeau version of him. Here's naughty version of him. Here's a New Hope version of him. Here's furry version of him. Here's Elizabeth Warren version of him. Here's the pretty princess. Here's his Halloween costume.
Michael Malice is weird to me because he's hilariously like he's just so nice most of the time, and then he just says really fucking mean stuff like that. My Halloween costume, AIDS.
Here's I saw Alejandro post this one over in Lobsters.
I know. No, that's like me. I'm like I don't want to vote Trump. But you guys keep turning him into a martyr. It's like the protest vote is now Trump.
Well, here's your other third party people. You got your Libertarian, you got your Green Party, and you got Cornel West. You can choose between all of them are for open borders, all of them are for pro-BLM, all of them are pro-abortion, all of them are pro-mask and vax mandates, all of them are drag queen story hour, and all of them are universal gun background checks. Those are your third party options. Yay.
You got Kennedy. He's talked a little bit about borders.
Oh,
Should
yeah,
be
he's
open.
up there. Kennedy's not off the table for me. He's talked about good stuff. He's also talked dumb stuff.
He's talked some dumb shit too, but I don't know.
He's definitely said some weird things.
I'm mostly leaning toward him.
So Trump showed up at the Libertarian Party and they all booed him, and then Dave Smith gave him a lecture about it, but then Dave Smith's team lost pretty hard.
I don't understand how Dave Smith wouldn't get the nomination. Like
he didn't run for it. He bowed out.
Oh, he didn't? He seems like the quintessential libertarian.
Yeah, he bowed out of it because he said he wasn't in that place in his life. But he would have been the front runner. But then Michael Rectenwald, and I like Michael Rectenwald a whole lot, but he didn't win.
Okay, listen. There's broadly speaking, I think, two groups of people here. Okay? No, but I'm serious. There are members of the Libertarian Party, and
they're libertarians.
Support Donald Trump. Listen, I have a message for both of you individually. I hear you. To the members of the Libertarian Party, which I am also one. Guys, listen, here's my message to the libertarians here. The former president of the United States of America and the current frontrunner to be the next president is here to talk to you. We are not a bunch of college leftist sissies. We believe in free speech. So be respectful. I'm not telling you have to agree with him, and I'm not telling you have to cheer for him. But we're not having like Jordan Peterson at Berkeley event here. And the message we're sending to the world is not that we can't handle ideas that we disagree with. We are libertarians. We are constantly surrounded by ideas that we disagree with. We're in Washington, D.C., for God's sake. And here's my message to the Donald Trump supporters who are here. You came to the Libertarian Party National Convention, and we're libertarians around these parts. So let me tell you a little bit about what we believe in case you're not sure. Here's what we believe. Donald Trump, as president of the United States of America, was framed for treason by his own deep state. And those people belong in jail. It is an absolute crime against our nation that the intelligence agencies that supposedly work for the president would dare frame a presidential candidate. But they crossed a whole nother line when they framed the sitting commander-in-chief, and not one of them has paid for that. And that is unacceptable. Around these parts, we are truly America first. We believe in no foreign adventurism. We are strict non-interventionists. The proxy wars of choice following 20 years of disastrous terror wars in Ukraine and in Israel are absolutely inexcusable, and America should have no part of either of them. We are $34 trillion in debt.
Well, Trump's not going to help you with that.
Well, that was his speech. But they chose a gay comic. Too bad. Good try.
You keep this up, Dan McClellan's going to come out as a libertarian.
Yeah, well, that's what's happening, man. They keep going that direction. Oh, just kind of like Maven was a sudden libertarian. Just like Dan McClellan's always a sudden libertarian. Anytime he's arguing for something that, how do you want the government involved in this? Because you guys want the government involved in everything in the world. Like, oh, you become sudden libertarians for Foucault's kid raping, you know, sure. Oh man, I gotta pull this up. This is from last week. I'm going out of order though. Anyway, I don't know if there's anything else to say about the Libertarian Party. That was just ridiculous. But I do think that those people start voting for Trump. But I have no idea what's going to happen because, like, this guilty verdict, 34 counts. Each one of those counts supposedly could hold up to a 4-year prison sentence. How are they going to do that? And they can't. There's no way that's going to get appealed before the election.
No.
I think it could get appealed, but before election, no.
He's gonna win the presidency, maybe from prison. That would be
that's what's going to happen. And I didn't think it would actually get there to that. But I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. It seems like the left almost wants to be like, it seems like they're playing a game of chicken, you know?
Oh, like, it totally is. Like they're trying to send off the other side off the deep end for sure. I mean, James Lindsay's been saying forever they're going to try to cause a drag Floyd event, or they're going to try to cause like some event that creates a new January 6th or something like that. They're trying, like, the constant thing that they talk about, like the lefties poking at you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you, to provoke a reaction. And I think there's truth to that 100%. And I don't know how that's going to happen. I think we're going to be on the Maven thing for a while. So I'm just kind of
Maven's going to be...
I did actually listen to the whole rest of the rant today.
Mm-hmm.
Put myself through the whole thing. Yeah.
Well, first I wanted to show you an important video.
I don't believe you.
Why don't you believe
me? I know these setups. Oh, Christ.
That's the whole video.
Jesus Christ. I don't...
Okay.
I don't know. What's the caption say?
I don't know. It says "girl defined."
That's it. It's just.
I don't know. I guess we're overthinking our shorts, y'all.
I'm glad you got it.
We got to just put up some shorts. I mean, drinking out of a Stanley Cup or something like that. I wanted to show.
You're the worst version of everything, Sam.
Like, what was that? But I loved this one by Ryan Long and Danny this week. Going back to the bear conversation, I guess it sort of like lines up with Maven stuff, because Maven stuff's all gender wars stuff a little bit, I think.
You've seen women on TikTok going viral stating they feel safer with a bear than a man.
Loved it.
And these women are sending a powerful and meticulously crafted political message that says to the world, we are bad at risk analysis. Stop making us do it.
For years, the world has told women we need more to trade crypto, gamble, enroll in actuarial sciences,
enter STEM fields,
and other risk analysis adjacent fields. And these women revolted by saying, enough is enough. I can't even tell if a human man is more dangerous than a bear. Please stop trying to force me to run a hedge fund.
And I got to confess, because I'm guilty as anyone. When I saw that men are 91% more likely than females to be invested in the stock market, or that 95% of professional poker players are men, I thought these women are just being lazy. We need a few more articles to force them into these fields.
Ignorant.
Completely ignorant. And I'm ashamed to say that man or bear trend, I took it at face value. And I said, I know that driving a car is dangerous, for example, but I would obviously be safer on the road than in a cage with a mountain lion, even if there are fewer deaths by lions due to frequency of encounters. But I just wasn't seeing the purposefulness in which this inaccurate risk assessment was being administered.
My wife flew up on me in a similar manner by saying I should be less worried about my leveraged altcoin option trades and more worried about her custom dog collar Etsy store.
Brilliant statement.
But I now realize that just like the Manor Bear protest, she was sending me an eloquent message that says, I don't like risk analysis. I like animals. Real reason.
Oh, all right. Enough dilly-dallying. I guess we got to cover what Bill and RFM said first. Did you listen to the whole entire thing, Flip?
I didn't listen to the whole show. I only listened to the Maven rant.
I listened to most of it, man. It was like, so they should have just stuck on that thing because like they're taking down apologists and the video, and I think we've talked about it before here. The video that they try to take down of the Midnight Mormons is fucking terrible. Like it's just stupid. It's the one where Cardin looks at RFM's new series called Mormon Sunday School and then accuses him of trying to be a wolf in sheep's clothing, which is just insane.
Yeah.
Like he's clearly not. And then he even takes that. There's that one point where they make reference to Mike Norton trying to film that porn in the temple. And I got to say, I've mentioned it before, but that was one of the moments where I was actually pretty stoked with the ex-Mormon community, if that's a thing. They just they really handily said, no, that's fucked up, man. Like I didn't see anybody saying, yeah, do it. I mean, I'm sure there was a couple, but then of course Cardin is playing that. Oh, there's a couple people that didn't like it. No, almost nobody liked it. Okay? Give him a little bit of credit here. And then RFN makes the joke, the obvious joke. You say that like it's a bad thing, like filming a porn.
That was so obviously a joke.
That was clearly, and that's the thing is Cardin knew it was.
Cardin knew it was. Yeah.
He's just fucking lying right there. That actually pissed me off. So if they would have stuck with that video, like I would have been totally on their side because it was a bullshit video.
Yeah, I thought they made a good case for
lie takedowns.
I thought they made a good case for why the Midnight Mormons are buttheads, like for sure. And there's a case to be made for that, and they made the case, and then they threw it all away. Like every time they're on a positive bend with us, they just like immediately go like 2 steps worse.
Well, it's because Maven just pops in every now and then. She just pops in and says, "This is my show now, and I'm just going to yell about feminism." And then they're like, "Oh yeah, you're amazing. It's like they're." I don't understand it. I don't understand. Maybe I use the analogy in the chat today. It's like if you've ever been in a situation with like one black dude and like 8 white dudes who are just desperate to prove that they're not racist, they will suck that black dude's dick metaphorically. They will laugh at the dumbest thing he said. Like he doesn't even have to be like really trying to joke or whatever. He'd be like, hey, working harder, hardly working. Like, oh my God, he said it. We were all thinking it, but he said it. And that's what it's like with Maven, man. She says the dumbest shit, and these guys are like, oh my God, yes, girl, Maven mic drop.
Yeah, you just reminded me of like something I saw on TikTok this week on X this week of somebody trying to prove their bona fides of hold on a second. Do you remember like when this that's the wrong dude. You know, another video came out of George Floyd getting arrested at a different time, and it played out almost exactly the same way as the other one.
Another one?
It was an older one, yeah. Sorry, I was getting off topic, but yeah, it's a whole.
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, but somebody like put out a video. You remember, like the mayor of Minnesota was crying at George Floyd's. Was crying at his casket. I guess it's too much of a dive. Yeah, it's video of it. Maybe I'll find it later. I'm getting too off track here. We'll stick back to this. Anyway, they call them like Art Bell. I think we've called him like Art Bell before. RFM gets mad at Brad eating. But I'll tell you what, RFM, if you ever want to hear people eating during streams, let me introduce you to BreadTube. I mean, I would listen to a lot more BreadTube if I could stand like Hassan is never not eating, and what's his name? H3H3 is never not eating. They're just eating all the time, constantly, forever. And it's even true on TikTok. Like 9 times out of 10, if you come across somebody who's eating while they're talking, there's some sort of lefty tuber, like always. And people You made it like an internet meme of calling it like you're eating your tendies. You're eating your chicken tendies in your parents' basement. There's an internet meme about that.
How does Ethan manage to simultaneously look like an amateur sumo wrestler and a chemo patient? I didn't know those two could mesh, but he looks terrible.
Yeah. Bill called Quaku woke. I thought that was funny. I don't know if you meant it as a.
Oh my God, Cardin was being woke as fuck in the video that they were criticizing. What a stupid fucking thing to say. He's like, I've never seen Mormon stories interview black people. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Get that ideology all the time. It's one of the worst parts of it. We talk to more black people than they do. Are you trying to outwoke them?
They try. I mean, that was one of the first things I ever saw Midnight Mormons do. Is kind of like take like a point of like saying, "Well, we're the actual real lefties. We're the actual real ones," or something like that. But
ideas that would essentially move them away from their faithful ground. And I don't know how they don't really notice the glaring example of Quaku with his mustache, pearl necklace, and not wearing garments, and claiming sort of in the last few months to be a bit woke, and suggesting maybe things to his audience that wouldn't quite be faithful. It seems sort of strange to me, or ironic to me.
I thought that was funny. But yeah, the stuff of flexing on who's had more black people on, and they pointed out that they've had Quaku himself on, which their example of somebody who they have on who's black is also their example of somebody who they've had on who's black, which I guess we could claim him too because we've had him on and he's black.
Well, it's hilarious to me that Bill Reel and like Cardin woked circles around Bill Reel. Like Bill Reel won the rationality contest because I thought that if I could have chose one of those guys to win a woke off, it would have been Bill, but he didn't. He said the rational thing, and he's like, well, but we mostly talk about Mormonism, and that's like a very American religion, and most Mormons are white, and especially in America, so doesn't it kind of make sense that most of the people are going to be white? It's like, yeah, you're getting it, Bill.
I thought this was a little weird that RFM had this epiphany that I think was basically one of the main things that Mormons admitted to for why they wanted to do the name change.
So that we can discern the wolves from the sheep.
Can you hang on right there before you get to the last line? Because it was when I read this that I suddenly realized it's me. I'm the reason that President Nelson got the revelation. We're not going to call it Mormon anymore. We're going to use the whole name of the church so that when people come along like me, wolves in sheep's clothing, and intentionally put up Mormon Sunday school instead of LDS Sunday school, that people will be able to look at it and know just from the title that it's not faithful.
Yeah, but they said that. They've been saying that all along. I think Cardin said that on the episode that I was on with him. They said they were talking about we got to get rid of the name Mormon or back away from Mormon because it got taken over. We were late to the internet and they got it. Like the ex-Mormons got it first. Like they've been saying that all along. Like how you have an epiphany for you say you listen to the guys, but they've been saying that that's the case the whole time. Well, that's not the only reason Russell M. Nelson did it. Nemo put out a pretty good video this week showing the seeming argument between Nielsen and Hinckley that they'd had back and forth kind of over the pulpit, it seems like, of should we be Mormon, should we not be Mormon? So obviously that predates that. But definitely I've heard people say, even the Midnight Mormons say, we had to run from the term Mormon because on internet that means ex-Mormon. Like they've been saying that all along. Like I don't know why that's an epiphany now. What next? They got kind of ad hominem. They say they don't do any ad hominem, but they called Cardin all sorts of fat and not good looking a bunch of different times, which I have no problem with. You know what I mean? I just have a problem with people say they didn't do it.
They did get a little bit pearl clutchy when they talked about Quaku called RF. He's looking old.
Yeah.
Well, that's just rude.
So
Cardin's fat.
They call Cardin fat and dumpy and all that sorts of stuff.
I mean, he is fat and dumpy, but like.
And they say that Quaku won't look so great when he's older. But all that stuff's just so much easier if you just announce from the top that I too am an internet dickhead. Like get off
I don't
the
think
thing
they
of
should,
ever
though.
anybody saying like, well, I'm the good one. I'm gonna be the good one. Just say, I am an internet dickhead, and we're gonna
Nah,
be.
they're really not good at it though.
Yeah.
they're just terrible shit talkers. Because that was Bill Reels. He tried to shit talk Quaku, be like, "Well, I'm unsure that he will look very good when he's older." Okay, Bill, that was a good one.
Zing.
They got into a little bit about the Brothers Keepers stuff, which we've talked about that stuff plenty. But I mean, they talk about how RFM does care about individuals he comes across and stuff. One of the things I disagree with them there, and I think they're a bit delusional about, and they've always been delusional about, is that they say that they don't tell you like what you should do at all. Like I just don't agree with that.
Oh,
Like,
Bill Real was straight up butthurt that like the church isn't shrinking as fast as he thought it would. Like he was mad at that the other day. So.
But everybody's shooting out shoulds. We're all shooting everybody. No, you are not just neutrally pointing out facts and then leaving it and throwing your hands up in the air. You're dropping all the shoulds in the universe. Like stop. Stop backing off and saying that you're just being neutral observers of the scientific facts. No, you aren't. No, you aren't. It's bias. It's a bias and it's a preaching. And maybe we're all doing that. And there's no way to avoid it. But some people can do it better than others. And I don't pretend that we are either. But just you turn around and go like, "Oh, we're just being neutral." Like, no, you aren't. Yeah, and then I had marked that the Mormons don't get sarcasm and stuff. Well, that's one of those selective misunderstandings because you can use it as a zinger against the person or something like that. But the fake profile stuff about Quaku, I don't know that he demonstrated that. Quaku probably does use fake profiles. Like I know Quaku uses alts on Twitter. So does Cultural Hall. I know you do, Cultural Hall. There's people using alts all over that place, and it's not outside of the realm of possibility that Quako's using a fake profile to contact Feel Real. But some of that's just millennial and Gen Z internet crap, man. I don't know what to tell you. Then they went over Bill's non-monogamy or not, or never explicitly stated non-monogamy.
That was so weird. I understand that he was the reality of that was that he was saying like, oh, they'll probably take something out of context. Like if somebody were to say, and then he used this hyper specific example.
Yeah.
Like it's like if I'm here, like
it sounds like he's obviously talking about himself.
I know. It's like I'm sure if I were to say something like, "Oh, I'm that guy that gets really turned on when I wear women's clothing, and I like to do it out in public, and sometimes put on a G-string, and my boner pop out of my dress, and I get really turned on by doing that." If I said something like that, like I'm one of those guys that says that thing, then they might take it out of context.
Yeah. Anyway, this is just the general part of the podcast about the Midnight Mormons and about, well, they didn't get to Jacob Hansen because I think Maven took that all over. But I don't know that I would have even mentioned this podcast at all if it had just ended there. And it was at 2 hours. They usually do 2 hours. So like they could have just ended it right there. Well, pretty good case y'all made. You know, whatever. Yeah, those guys can be dickheads. Pretty good case made. Then Maven comes in. And
hell.
Well, first she came in a little bit earlier, right? What the first thing she talked about was she got exposed on the internet. Then that's a spooky thing because now her mom knows.
Yeah, it was pretty hilarious because Maven Brody is a pseudonym. It's not a real name, and so she uses that because she didn't necessarily want her Mormon family to find her online presence. She didn't try to hide it from him, she said, but anyway. Her mom found out about the Maven Brody name, texted her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that's me." And everyone was worried about her, like, "Are you okay? Is it blowing up or whatever?" And it's hilarious because she's like, "I know that like Mormonism does the unfortunate thing where it makes it to where like Mormonism is to blame for us having all these massive fights as families."
Mormon
and
men.
it's unfortunate because we'll probably have those massive fights because of Mormonism. Anyway, here's my piece of shit misogynist dad.
That comes later.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
that's right. She says that at the beginning, and then she pulls up a screenshot of a text with her dad, and that's where my name comes from. His contact name at her phone is piece of shit motherfucker.
Yeah, I did not look at the screen when I was listening to it, so I didn't catch
Whoa.
that until it was pointed out to me later. I mean, we got a screenshot of it.
Yeah,
Here's
she's
the
like,
quote now.
"Oh, I hate Mormonism for putting a strain on my family." What are you talking about? You are publicly calling your dad a sexist, hypocrite piece of shit.
Yeah, obviously, this is one of my long-time running things with Maven is that she's obviously got some serious issues, and as my same complaint with Foucault and Judith Butler, people take their serious internal issues and try to make them a larger political issue to foist on an entire community or world. That's a bit of a problem, and especially when they're very specific. Like I think Foucault had a very specific foible that he created a whole entire philosophy out of, and Judith Butler has a specific neuropathy that she created a whole philosophy out of and pushed it on the world. And now Maven, and one of the things that this is titled is that she's, it dawned on me that she's been the mod of every single major ex-Mormon thing ever. She mods the Mormon Stories Facebook page. She mods Mormon Stories, and she's been modding Mormonism Live for like a couple years. And it's like you have this gal who she's just barely left Mormonism a few years ago. It's only been I think it's under 5 years, maybe a little bit longer. But then she comes in.
COVID?
What?
You say it's like since COVID?
Yeah, somewhere around there. It might have been like a year or two earlier. I forget her exact story, but it's not 2015. She was still, I think she was even on a mission 2013ish around there. Don't quote me on the dates, but I know she's definitely just a few years out. But anyway, this person gets put in charge, and she has her very specific political psychosexual hangups, and she's been the person curating all online discussion for major ex-Mormon podcasting world and Facebooking world for the past couple years. Like,
That is amazing.
How did that happen? Like,
What's
why?
the exact thing that happened to Reddit?
Yeah. I mean, it's like a microcosm of like what I mean. It's like a it's a longhouse. It's like an Anita Sarkeesian microcosm. Like, this person who knows nothing about video games comes in, and all of a sudden she's the mod for all video games things. And if people don't know, I've mentioned it before. That's how Stalin came into power. Like Stalin came into power through like HRE stuff. Like there's always this like sneaking. Well, that's one of the problems with the managerial system. In the managerial system, the people who can sneak in for all the power can like sneak in from controlling these little axes at choke points like that. And I mean, we've all been. I mean, Marty was just talking about it. She was on with Mormonism Murph, and she was talking about how she had been shadow banned. Troy tested it and noticed that he's been shadow banned from Mormon Stories. He put that up on the Longhouse. I've been shadow banned off of Mormon Stories thing. I have not been shadow banned off of Mormon Stories Facebook, and that's because I've been extra super careful there because I only want to comment when it makes, or I'm saving up for like a big moment, because like all of us at one point or another kind of go like, all right guys, I'm blowing it up here with this one. Like Flip just blew it up on Mormonism Live now. I mean, Flip's blowing it up on a bunch of them, but
well, no, I didn't even blow this things. I didn't even blow it up. Like I got shadow.
You were trying to be nice, yeah.
No, I was asking direct, simple questions.
Yeah,
and I got like 3 questions out, and then Maven, I assume the mod, whoever the mod is, like said, "Oh, you've been banned," and it's like, okay,
I have no idea why I got shadow banned off of Mormonism Live. I can't remember. I don't remember being particularly salty at any point on that one. I do remember being salty to John Larson on Mormon Stories. I know why I got shadow banned there, but I mean, it's just, I listen to the stuff today and like I want to comment or something I think about, and I can't even, maybe it isn't even true because like maybe it's been undone or something at some point, but I just was taught not to comment on it because I was just wasting my voice and wasting my space, like, or time, like putting stuff out there. But we've been living in that world for a while. So then we noticed like at some point Jacob Hansen made a comment on the thread, and then Maven comes on and she drops this little bit of a thing right here.
It basically
any triggers, get out of here.
I'm probably going to cover it or mention it at some point. So here we go. I I'll just bring up this first here. Jacob, at least at some point, was in the chat. We'll see if he's still here, I guess.
Right there.
Yeah. So this was what he
Give
said
us
to you. This was
$4.99.
actually
Thank you, Jacob.
this is what I meant to put in.
So we know Maven's the main mod. There's other mods, maybe some other, but I don't know exactly how the mod stuff works, but I think the person who's the main mod would be able to see who's getting removed or deleted. But we also know that Jacob then posted later that after he put that post up, that he was then suddenly banned off of commenting, couldn't comment anymore. And he showed the proof of it right here. So she goes on when she had to have known already that it was her that had either banned him, kicked him off, or she should have seen that somebody else kicked him off there and then came on calling him a coward and don't know like where he's gone and why he's not here commenting anymore.
Pretty dishonest.
Yeah. I mean, there's some outside chance that one of the other mods did it and she just didn't see it. But I mean, I
also,
don't really believe it. Maybe.
Irony of irony, Jacob Hansen, by the way. Oh.
Yeah. Because you got, but
like,
well, he usually tell you like why you got kicked off of there. Though. Yeah, but he talked to you.
No, that's no, he didn't. That's just it.
He didn't.
First, I didn't get kicked off. Because I quit after because like I kept getting bans, and I was messaging him saying like, "What the hell? Why did I get a ban?" And he'd say like, "Oh well, somebody complained, but yeah, I agree. You didn't break the rules, and you reversed it." The third time, I'm like, "Dude. Like, what the hell? I didn't break a rule." He's like, "Well, you get a lot of complaints." I'm like, "So what? I didn't break a rule." And he like just didn't even respond. I'm like, "Come on, tell me, what did I do this time? I didn't break any rule. You know I didn't break a rule, you know." And so that's what I said, like, "Look, I'm quitting because it's not even worth dealing with you. Because like you have no consistency at all. You know, you and Hayden have both been completely hypocritical about your bans." But like, no, absolutely.
I know it was Hayden that banned you the first. I remember that because
I thought it was Hayden who generally, and then Jacob would try to give a description of why Hayden had chosen.
Kind of, but I mean, like that's the thing is like every single time I'm like, "Hey, look, number one, you know," because like one thing they said like, "Oh, personal attacks," where it's like, "Okay, except that I only ever respond in kind." You know, I said that, and he knew that. Like, I only ever respond in kind to illustrate what you guys are doing. You know, because that's the thing. It's like, I mean, because that's like when Hayden and Jacob are like, "No personal attacks." Like, oh, come on, you guys. Like, you guys. Especially you two guys. Like, come on. But, like, yeah, they're just totally hypocritical. But, yeah, no, so, I mean, I just think it's funny there that, like, you know, that's just how it works with religious apologists. They cannot stand to let other people speak, especially if they're providing good criticism, you know. So Jacob learned that. I wonder if he'll learn the lesson and, you know, start treating people differently in his groups. But we'll see.
Oh, well, I mean, they messaged that group. Let's see, where did this thing start? Like, I have some highlighted stuff from it, but where did it actually come in? Like 140 something? There she is. Content warning, all the things.
Yeah, which is also, come on, what are you, a baby?
Well, we've already known since forever. We can pull up the proof of that. I think Jonathan Haidt and Rob Henderson have been talking about it since forever, that content warnings don't do what you think content warnings do. Trigger warnings cause the opposite effect. They prime people to get triggered. They've known that since 2, 3, 4 years ago. I mean, it's definitive, but just keep on doing it. Just do it forever, because I mean, it's not really about giving a trigger warning. It's about doing a shibboleth, right? It's about showing that you're just of that world, right?
Yeah, it's a virtue signal.
It's a virtue signal.
I'm on the side of people who think that it's bad to rape.
You are?
Yeah, I'm brave. I know that puts me in a dangerous position. Mormon men.
Have you received any awards?
You're not like one of those. You're not like one of those MAGA Christo fascists who want to legalize rape.
No, yeah, see, like I was, because I believed the church, but now I'm not, because I learned that the church wasn't true.
But do you buy all the tenets of feminism wholesale without any questions?
Well, I mean, because it's just because Just because some opinions are based on fact doesn't mean that it's bias.
Okay.
You know, the McClellan rule.
Yeah.
Please, by all means.
Why? Like, why did they have this? Like, why did they wrap it up with this? I guess it's because they had to cover Jacob Hansen.
I guess I should come up on stage. Everybody hear me okay?
Oh, we can hear you just
Okay.
fine.
I'm just putting a last few little notes here. Okay, I'm going to share my.
As being so helpless that like RFM gets really mama bear about her anytime someone's even.
He said he bans people for saying mean stuff about her or something.
Yeah.
Screen. I'm just going to give a content warning really quick, and I just put all the things because I'm going to be talking about abuse. We're going to be talking about sexual assault. I'm going to be talking about abortion, reproductive rights, all the things.
If you have any triggers, get out of here.
Basically, I'm probably going to cover it or mention it at some point. So here we go.
Yay.
I'll just bring up this first here. Jacob, at least at some point, was in the chat. We'll see if he's still here, I guess.
Right there.
Yeah. So this was what he said to you. This is actually,
Thank you, Jacob.
This is what I meant to put in. Who is Maven? And good question. I am so happy to answer that for you. And I'm not offended at all that you don't remember, because it's kind of typical for Mormon men to do stuff like this. So it's just kind of par for the course.
That's a Mormon male thing.
Yeah,
that's something Mormon men do.
Do you think let's still, man? Do you think she was pretending not to remember Jacob? I mean, do you think Jacob was pretending not to remember her?
Probably.
I think I've seen him do it to Cultural Hall. Like, he knows who Cultural Hall is, and he's just kind of like. But I guess that's not being sexist enough, because I mean, I've seen him do it to guys. Like, who even is this guy?
I don't think he's doing it to be sexist, but like I'm positive he knows who she is.
He's doing it to be dismissive of ex-Mormons.
Yeah, he might just
I don't
be
think there's
there. I don't even think he was trying to lie or anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of tacky, but
I mean, we've got like a proof that he does it to males, but it's sexist when it's done to female.
And especially men who try to pretend that sexism doesn't exist in the church, or that they're respectful of women, do stuff like this, and it just always kind of proves my point for me.
No, it doesn't.
Let's see here.
It didn't prove nothing.
Let me go ahead and take this down because
this is going to be about Jacob taking it.
This is going to be about
like anything you do. Like you're actually proving my point. She can say like, with the whole bear thing, they always do that. Like, I'm more scared of men than bears, and I'm like, well, that's not rational. Like, you're actually proving my point. Like, wait,
it's all
agreeing with you is proving your point.
Oh, exactly. No, it's all a Kafka trap. Like,
yeah.
If you don't agree with her, it's because you're a shitty person like her dad.
Trump is anti-government. Let's put him through like this crazy lawfare trial that we'd never put any sort of political person through, and guilty. And he says, "No, see, he's proving my point. He's proving my point." It's kind of like a Kafka trap. It's you just say you're against whatever sort of thing, I mean, I guess that's one of the things that they do with governmental spending of stuff too. Like anytime they spend too much money on something and it fails, that just proves their point that they need more money for the thing. Like everything only ever proves the point.
That was the other stupid thing that lady said. The Lori Vallows cousin that was on, she talked about how the Mormon Church has enough money to end child.
Oh yeah, to end child sexual assault.
What the fuck are you talking? You just like buy off all of the rapers? Okay, you look like you rape. Do you? It's like, well,
we will pay you.
Like, okay,
$50
can I
a month.
pay you money to not do that? Like, well, okay. My going rate is $60 per not rape.
Dear Epstein Island people, we have $200 billion. Please stop raping kids. $200 billion. That's chump change.
We want it to rape. It's just they keep throwing money at it. We can't do it.
Jacob. Okay. So yeah, let's see here.
But that's one of the points of critical theory, which I don't know that Maven knows she's doing critical theory, but you're doing critical theory, Maven.
Rape just doesn't make the financial sense that it used to.
But one of the great benefits
rape
of
in this economy.
One of the great benefits of critical theory is any sort of resistance to it always proves it. Oh, that's built in.
It's not letting me look on the next screen here. Okay, so this is starting out with the DC protests. Many of you know that I did.
Selma Envy.
Don't know if I mentioned that.
Rebecca Biblioteca made this. So this, I've been actually twice at two large protests. This first one, which kind of started all of this, was about making
2 large insurrections, maybe.
Yeah.
the mifepristone, which is the safest method of abortion or miscarriage completion out there, period, hands down, better than any other option. And so there was one argument where pro-lifers are trying to ban this incredibly safe medication, which would make abortions a lot more, not just more difficult to get, but even quote unquote legal ones, like in states that have bans, etc., a lot more dangerous. I have to go along for their, I won't get into it too much because I can go on this forever. So. And then he's answering someone else here. He's copied and pasted. I'll make it bigger here. This is directly from the church handbook Facebook group. But someone who is part of it happened
Bill
to
Reel.
bring up Jason.
Oh yeah, Bill Reel's in thoughtful faith,
Yeah,
isn't
of
he?
course. It's like you think you're
Oh,
hiding.
duh.
It's Bill Reel. He's the rat.
I'm sitting there overthinking like who the heck it was. I was thinking it was probably your friend Bonnie who you had a interaction with or something.
Jesus.
What was that about? Oh, wait a minute. That was some subject we got to talk
That was
about.
about
too.
Michelle Stone.
Oh, yeah. The whole polygamy debate was this week too. You're sucking up all our time, Maven.
She did. She gave me a real big explanation as to why she stays in the church, but I don't know.
Bonnie?
No, Michelle.
Michelle? She talked to you?
Yeah, she's in that group.
Yeah, I mean, I saw her post somewhere. I didn't see her actually talk directly to you. I saw her thank Jacob Hansen for saying nice things about her, but I saw your post about every one of her arguments ends with sobbing.
Yeah, I didn't.
Did she comment on that?
Yeah, a couple.
That's
times.
where she commented.
Yeah, it's a few times. I kind of had that big argument with Bonnie when she's like, you don't need to be mean. I was like, I'm not trying to be mean. She's like, well, I find it funny that Mormonism encourages people to cry as a show of emotion, and then they make fun of him. I was like, look, I'm not Mormon, and I'm not against crying in general. I just think that it's not good as a substitute for an argument. Michelle cries when like her entire channel is saying that every prophet except one was in pure apostasy. And Brian Hales is like, usually you get in trouble for that kind of thing. And she's like,
the professional crier from Arrested Development or Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Jacob's stance on abortion. And so I asked them if they could send me screenshots, and they were able to. So shout out to this person. So my answer to Jacob Hansen, I didn't actually answer him directly at all. I just copied and pasted the following, which are from his own page. So this is from one user saying, does the church say all abortion is not murder? He says, where has the church ever said abortion is equal to murder? ? So that's Jacob. And then he's answering someone else here. He's copied and pasted. I'll make it bigger here. This is directly from the church handbook. Abortion is not defined as murder in this context. Okay, of course, the context being the exceptions that the church.
Hey, Michael Sitar, you're on Mormon Discussions, yeah.
Feels like it's okay with. So so that's from Jacob right there. So I thought that was kind of interesting for him to come on my page and accuse me of wanting to kill babies, all just for the sake of casual sex. So here we go.
Casual sex.
Here we go. Okay, yeah.
Look at this. I like this cultural hall. I hear that group is toxic AF. Did you hear that, cultural hall? Did you?
My mind is crazy.
Wait a minute. He dropped this down here. Thoughtless vain.
Wait a minute. You got a new one? Dude,
Yeah.
we need to... Dude, Culch got a new insult.
No,
Oh
thoughtless.
my God.
He was always thoughtless taint.
Oh, he said thoughtless. Yeah, he already had thoughtless. He just took taint off.
Yeah.
Never mind.
And
You're
then
right.
later he brags somewhere down there. He goes, "I'm the one who gave him the moniker Thoughtless Taint."
This is crazy. Jesus Christ.
Make sure you get credit for that, Culture Hall. Make sure you get credit for that one because it's going to be a money maker.
So I think I miffed Jacob a little bit, got a little upset at this at me. I
You
think
go on
putting
like
his
a
own
28-minute
words out there. So
unhinged
anyway,
rant about you.
here's where he goes next. So go ahead and read it. Oh, sorry. I need to get caught up on where I'm at. So this is what Jacob says. He says, Maven, abortion on demand and at any point in pregnancy is insane. I am for common sense gun, I mean abortion controls. Life, mother, rape, incest. And then he goes on to say, all abortion is wrong. Sometimes it can be justified, which I think is a really contradictory statement, Jacob. If it's wrong, then it's, I don't.
Is it?
No, that's not, that's like, I don't like death. Okay. But sometimes death can be justified. That feels just so, that's such an controversial thing to say that I don't understand.
I don't think it's justified. So, but he goes into that a lot. So it's, I don't know. Anyway.
I don't see how Jacob hasn't given like all the allotments for the fringe heartbreak cases already, like right there.
Yeah, he gives all the allotments for the fringe cases, and then all she does to argue against him is use the fringe cases.
Yeah, that's like what we don't need the next 45 minutes of tearing at our heartstrings for things that he already said would be justified abortions.
Anyway, he goes on to say, you are advocating for abortion on demand, which we all know is protecting casual sex. Stop pretending. So
does that happen, Maven? You guys asked her that, right? Yeah, I think you did, right? Does that happen, Maven? And not only does it happen, like what percentage is it that versus fringe, difficult,
nearly all
a topic?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this because I'm sure that like every single woman in my life, we're talking anecdotes here, and the plural of anecdote is data. People always say it's the opposite of that. No, it is. That's in my life, I know of. I'm gonna shoot out a number. I think I know of about 15 abortions, and I don't know of any of them that were life-saving situations. All of them were birth control. Every single one of them. It was little late birth control. And 2 or 3 of them, I know they are multiple users.
You're
multi-time abortion people.
You're actually proving her point, because this is you've created such a toxic environment that the women in your life are not comfortable coming forward and telling you about their life-saving.
They wouldn't share it with me.
No.
Except for a couple of those gals. I'm not saying their names, but they definitely shared it with me privately. And
you probably intimidated them into doing it, though.
Yeah, and I don't know.
Well, you are bigger,
person,
like, because Maven likes to bring up is that any man could rape her at any time. She likes to talk about this a lot for some reason.
Yeah, and I'm sure that I know there's a bunch more abortions that have happened around me. That I know of one gal who about every same time of year. I mean, I'm telling you.
Hey, Nancy, the usual.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm not joking.
Jesus Christ.
It's April. Have you made your appointment?
Yes, exactly.
That uterus is still working? Oh my God, this is your 7th abortion. They're usually dead by then.
And I am not kidding, Maven. And nobody's ever told me about like a private, very, 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 very risky one. I know of a couple gals who had private, very, 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 very risky ones where they tried to have the kid. And boy, does my heart go out for those ladies. Maybe other ones just haven't shared it with me. But I bet you most of the people who haven't shared their abortions with me are more elective situations for birth control. Most of them.
I'm just going to remove this for a second. And this is just where it just kind of is a little bit embarrassing
and
for
that's
Jacob.
what Flip got. That's what you got booted for, because you started asking her. It was like, is less abortion better than more abortion?
Yeah, no, literally, I just asked, like, is that, like, yeah. Like, first I asked, like, you know, I just said, like, is less abortion preferable to more abortion? And people are like, well, yeah, but this is about consent and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, so people who advocate for less abortion aren't necessarily trying to control women's bodies. And that's where I got banned, was that. Just like that. It's like, yeah, just, is it possible to advocate for less abortion without trying to control women's bodies? Something to that effect. And I got booted for it for obvious reasons, because they don't want to answer that question for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
You're spewing anti-feminist lies.
Well, then
I just don't understand, because I haven't listened to enough stories.
Well, put it this way, Flip. If you wanted to know if you should buy a Ford, would you go to a Toyota dealership to ask them about Ford? No, because they'd say bad things about Ford. You gotta
Remember
go to
this
Ford.
lesson from church.
Yeah, I know. It's full circle, man. We're all the way back to church.
That's all it ever is, man. We can't escape it. It's always back.
Again, you know, I don't blame him for not immediately knowing who I am and everything about me.
I just like imagining, like, so I got out of church like 20-ish years ago because I didn't believe in like gold plate stuff, right? And I just try to imagine like that's just like a pretty simple exit. Like you just came across that stuff and you came across truth claims and like, I don't think any of this is real. And I try to imagine young me coming across that stuff now and saying, hey, I'll tune into this podcast because I want to hear about it. And then I listen to this screed. You know?
I know. Dude, well, some dude on the Thoughtful Faith group was on my whole polygamy thing I was talking about. He's like, wait a minute, you're ex-Mormon, but why do you hang out here and stuff? And I was like, I don't know, it's interesting. And he's like, well, could you give me the Cliff Notes version of why you left the church? And I was like, I don't believe the things happened that they said happened. I don't think the Book of Mormon stuff happened. And he was like, well, I said Cliff Notes, not sticky note. Well, that's it though. And I tried to explain it. I was like, look, every leaving the Mormon church story is just the same. It gets dull after a while. I mean, the newer ones aren't quite the same. They all have like a social justice bent to them, and it's like I left it because I'm virtuous.
But here's an introduction for you, Jacob, and anyone else. Okay, people already know. People who know me know I identify as asexual. I know I get accused of being a lesbian a lot, which I don't really see why it's an accusation. It's not a bad thing to be, but I am not interested in sex and I never have been. And so at this point in my life, Jacob, despite me being a heathen atheist, I am a virgin. You have had more sex than I have, judging by the fact that you at least have children, I think 3. So we can say that you've at least had it 3 times, but probably more. And it's just really, really ironic to me when people like you want to tell me that something is about sex and that the only reason why women can be,
How common are you, even amongst asexuals? Like, how many asexuals are actual virgins too? Like,
Yeah.
Maven, you are fringe. Like, you are not
Yeah.
the rule. You are the exception to the rule, and you
And
are an
we haven't even
exception
gotten
to
to
the
the part-
rule. Go ahead.
Just because, I mean, she said she got
Yeah,
sterilized. She had herself sterilized
We'll hit
because
it.
she considers it such a risk that she could be raped into pregnancy. So she
Yeah.
got herself
sterilized and still takes birth control, which we've used many times that maybe that stuff jacks with your hormones and messes your thinking patterns a little bit
it's
too.
important. Reproductive rights and bodily autonomy is important is because it's about sex and not actually wanting to be in control of our bodies. So in addition to that, Jacob, besides the fact that I am not choosing to have sex, I can't always choose if someone is going to make me do it. That's the unfortunate reality of being a woman. And as a small woman, there's a lot of men bigger than me. They could force me if they wanted to. So
I think your risk assessment about this, I think Ryan Long covered your risk assessment abilities about this. It's not a zero risk, but it's not the level of risk that you think it is.
Even though I'm choosing not to do anything, I still didn't feel safe from pregnancy by a rape. So I actually did go and sterilize myself, Jacob. So, and not only that, but I am on birth control to manage my period symptoms. They can be really debilitating sometimes. So I think between those 3 things, I'm 99.99% sure that I will not be getting pregnant. I've done a
And I'm
And
99.
what does any of this have to do with the general idea of women who use abortion as birth control?
Yeah,
like,
I'm
what is the
99.9% sure that you're talking about you who is a 0.1%, 0.01% person.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the thing that she's pretending to argue with Jacob about, they actually agree on.
Yeah.
I mean, he gave everything that she's going to bring up, he gave exception for. Like, she's like, what if a woman gets raped? He's like, yeah, I'd make an exception. What if it's incest? Yeah, I'd make an exception. What if a woman's life is in danger? Yeah, I'd make an exception. What if a woman's life is in danger? Like, no, you guys are agreeing on this, okay? Why don't you get to the part where you disagree?
Which is the vast majority of the abortions out there, but you flip out for something that's just, once again, back to that thing, like maybe statistical analysis ain't your thing. You know?
Lot to make sure I've never needed an abortion, and I probably never will at this point. So why am I still so passionate about this? I think it's maybe something for you to think about. But
Selma envy.
let me come back to this. Jacob has a pretty unhinged take on abortions.
Yeah, I think what we would think about is what your psychosexual neurotic hangups are.
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to ask her to tell me what her version of a hinged take on abortion would be, because she's saying he has an unhinged take on abortion. What would be a reasonable take on abortion?
Yeah,
I mean,
Like,
that's
other than Maven's exact take, what would be a reasonable one?
in my private conversation with her, I tried exactly that. I tried to what is the law? What is an abortion law that you could agree with? You know, and I could not get her to answer that question. It was funny. She even is like, I did answer your question, you know, and said something kind of backhanded about how I didn't pay attention. And so I went and reread the entire thread, and it's like, no, all she ever said is like, I support laws that preserve women's rights. It's like, yeah, I know, but what do you think that is? But I was like trying to get her. It's like, you know, would you be okay with a law that said, you know, the rape, mother, incest, the classic 3, and then like 12 weeks, like, and you know,
I don't think she would be okay with a law that said 35 weeks.
Well, and that's the thing is like, and I just so that's things like I couldn't get her to say if she could agree to any kind of compromise law, and I couldn't get her to say I believe in just no abortion ban whatsoever, like literally no restrictions, because the fact is like that's a belief, that's mainline feminist dogma, actually, you know, like that's a thing lots of feminists do believe and aren't afraid to say it. So why can't you say it? But yeah, like, and I never even got to that far with her, but like basically it's that situation, you know, with the Ground Zero Mosque, where it's like it's too close. Okay, if it's too close, then how far is far enough? Shut up. This isn't about free speech. Like, yeah, no, I know. Like, it's about too close. So what's the distance? Just tell me the distance. And that's things like with Maven. This is one of those situations where like she hasn't thought about the distance. She doesn't want to think about the distance. This is a chasing the dragon fight.
This is the one issue she's probably libertarian about, and I bet you her libertarianism ends right at this issue. I bet you every other issue she's full authoritarian on.
Yeah.
This is actually a response to, this was a tweet in response to the SEC filing. He says, just a friendly reminder, the blood-sucking feds pay for abortions. Down with Caesar. Christ is king. I hope we lie and cheat the feds out of every penny. I'll just let that stand as is.
You know, so funny, like,
it's,
you notice
it's
that
just
she sounds kind of like
ontologically true that paying money to the feds is good, right?
Yeah.
You notice she sounds kind of like Frosk. Remember Frost? Like, I do not exist for you to look at.
Yeah.
Like she sounds
doing
just like
that exact
Frost.
same tone. That's the Denmother tone, man.
It's the
well,
Denmother
other tones.
It's a lecture.
Here's
I'll just note
another
in
one.
passing that Caesar's a notoriously difficult name to spell correctly.
And also, that seems to violate the Articles of Faith, which are, at least on some level, foundational to Mormonism.
So
yeah, and
not very libertarian of y'all's. Like suddenly you're not very libertarians anymore.
I'm really curious about these federal funded abortions. That's I'll need a source for that, I think. Here he is again, just an FYI. The primary reason people defend abortion on demand
that
with
crazy?
such passion, like me,
Hold on a
apparently, is to
second.
protect their.
Do you not know that Planned Parenthood receives federal funding?
Yeah, no, it's like it's the same thing. People always do this with NPR too, where they're like, "What are you even talking about?" It's like they get money from the feds. It's public.
Well, this
money.
one's
Like,
kind of funny because this is an argument I've had both in regards to Planned Parenthood and in regards to the Mormon Church, because I remember leaving the Mormon Church and they talked about the mall, and I was like, I don't really like the mall because it's like vanity. It feels like, it feels like maybe the church shouldn't sell luxury. I think it does. It's good for the economy or whatever. I don't love it though.
the church shouldn't run a Sparrow.
Yeah, it's my tithing money paying for it. There's like, actually, they don't use the tithing money to pay for it. they use other money to pay for it. Okay, but you understand if the church's funds is a big bowl and I throw $20 into that big bowl and they take the $20 out and buy a pack of cigarettes with it, and I say, hang on a second, I don't want you buying cigarettes with my money. They say, no, I used a different $20 bill. That's not really going to be of much comfort to me. And I say the same thing about the whole
money.
anytime you bring up
part of the hush money situation too. Like supposedly they're convicting him because those were campaign funds he was using for that. A billionaire guy who's just paying his or his lawyer took it upon himself. It came out in the trial that the lawyer entirely did it, and Trump hardly had any sort of notice or idea that he was doing it. And that was for sure campaign money. Like, no money's fungible, you knuckleheads. I mean,
and I do that with the whole Planned Parenthood thing too. Like, because anytime you bring up, well, no, they can receive government funding. Like, yeah, but not for abortion. Like, what are you talking about? Like, they just receive funding.
Yeah,
the government
and they provide abortions.
And they provide abortions.
They also do phony stuff too. Like any sort of abortion that's given, they will kind of do this thing like you know how you do dentist copay and like you go like get like a cavity worked on, but then there'll be like 5 things that you paid for, and that one cavity, it's not just like one little payment for cavity. There's 5 things. That's what they do with abortion. They put like 16 different little services in the process of getting an abortion. So any abortion in and of itself is already tilted in the statistics because it was 16 other services and 1 abortion service inside the abortion service. But that was all on the path to abortion.
Their ability to fornicate on demand and kill the baby if they get pregnant. Sex on demand requires abortion on demand. That's the issue. Let's stop pretending otherwise. Jacob, even if we lived in this like perfect utopia where no one ever had sex that they didn't want, and no one ever had sex outside of a marriage, even a temple marriage, abortion would be necessary.
Do you notice, like, she didn't even acknowledge, because like he says, like he's basically talking like, we are talking about abortion for people who made bad choices. Let's stop pretending like that's what we're talking about most of the time. And she immediately bangs into, some people don't have a choice. It's like, yeah, he wasn't talking about those people.
Yeah,
like,
and I don't know the history of when like our modern use of like safer abortions ever got around. I'm pretty sure there's probably even ancient abortions, but my guess is it was less than 200 years ago before they got really safe, right? And that most
if there
women,
were
once they
ancient
got pregnant,
abortions, they were safe because it was aliens doing the abortion.
I wonder how far. Like, I bet you, like the first abortion was probably pulled off pretty long time ago, and very rare. But I
mean, what's
it's
the
not
caveman
like
equivalent of throwing a lady down the stairs?
Earliest abortion, but it obviously wasn't a part of average healthcare until at least, if you're being generous, somewhere in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And so what did people do before that? This is going back to like the Mary Harrington's rule of like people talking about the advent of things like abortion and things like the birth control pill was the first moment where suddenly you've reconfigured your brain to think like a transhumanist, because now healthcare is breaking what's working right. And everything else up to that point was trying to help work right what's working right. But that's the world of the first time people tried to get around to the idea of these are all just things that say like 9 weeks. I don't mean 9 weeks. I mean earliest historical
evidence for earliest historical abortion.
1550 BCE in Egypt. Yeah, I knew that was true.
Is it Bible stuff?
Yeah, I'm guessing. First recorded evidence of induced abortion is from the Egyptian Ebers Papyrus in 1550 BCE.
I bet this is some feminist revisionist history.
Sure. And it was
a trans woman too.
When did I don't know how to look up this.
Computer, tell me about abortions.
Abortions are awesome.
When
abortions are healthcare.
Yeah, I mean they just
it's
like announced. He did announce that. Yeah,
it's literally a fucking human right.
National Institute of Health, the NIH, is going to tell me abortion history. I'm sure that's not Foucauldian at all. Oh, come on. I can't trust any of it. All right, back to this.
Still be part of women's healthcare because that's the nature of the beast. Just things don't always go the way that they should. So let's stop pretending otherwise. Okay, Jacob, let's stop pretending. So I will say that it does have to do, or at least this control aspect of it does have to do with sex and this really.
Here comes the wild claims that it's only men obsessed with controlling sex, and it's only men doing it. Like, come on.
Only men.
Insane preoccupation with it, but it's from men like you, Jacob. You're obsessed with women having sex and men like you, and there's so many examples of this. When I mod here, when I mod on Mormon Stories, the amount of comments that we get when we have females on
Where you mod all the places, see, there it is. She's modding them all. You're our den mother. We didn't even know it. We didn't even know we had a neurotic, asexual, what is it?
Self-hating.
Self-spaying.
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah.
I guess that's not the correct word. Den
yeah,
mother telling us, a nurse ratchet telling us all like what we're allowed to say or not say in the ex-Mormon world. Like, thanks. We've been ex-Mormon a long time, Maven, and you're now curating it for us around.
That was another thing that that's right. When I tried to comment and I got banned, it was because somebody's funny because like every single time I bring up abortion and just say simple, like my NPR game where I just say on every abortion article, if only there was some way, any way at all, to prevent pregnancy. And it's just because, and every single time, and it happened in the comment section of this thing last night, where a lady's just like, mandatory vasectomies for men.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I tried to comment, they're like, oh, okay, so this is an idea. So your idea is to literally control men's bodies. And that's when I was like, found out like, oh, I'm not even allowed to comment now. And it's like, oh, you guys, like, just come on. It's just so shameless. That's the other thing. I have to guess that Maven has seen that comment 10,000 times. Like somebody bring up the mandatory vasectomies thing as like a serious solution to the abortion problem. And I wonder like if she's ever even acknowledged it, like to say good or bad, yes or no. I kind of doubt it.
Just insane. And I've had a lot of comments like this myself. So actually, in fact, RFM, the comment that he was talking about earlier that caused him to ban somebody was them making a comment first. I mean, they had commented about my sexuality, which was fine. I went with that. But then they wanted to go and make a comment just about me and John DeLynn and in a sexual way, which is just really gross and not okay. And I really appreciate you, RFM, for drawing the line there and not allowing somebody to say stuff like that to me. But it's people like this that it doesn't seem insane or weird to them at all to do that. So I've got some comments here on screen. So I guess I'm kind of answering these here now. So these are some that I've just kind of collected. This one says, modern young women are on the right path now. Hundreds of sex.
No, this just gets into like 15 minutes of like random shitty comments that Mormons have said. Of course they say shitty. Like we can all like pick out like shitty comments. I mean, that's, nut picking. We can pick that out across the board.
People were mean to me on the internet, and that's just fucked up. Man, that's the internet. I don't know what to tell you.
What's the timestamp on it to get to the next thing here? It's 156. There was one point where she started talking about Satanism. I'm not going to go into deep detail about that, but it came up like RFK was on Tim Pool's podcast. And they brought up abortion to RFK on that. And RFK had said pretty recently that he was open to abortion all the way up until birth and that it should be the woman's choice. RFK on Tim Pool's podcast walked that back. And he said one of the reasons he walked it back is because he looked into the data because he had assumed that those late stage abortions were extremely, extremely rare. And that he found out by looking at the data that they weren't. That there's thousands and thousands and thousands of them. And he thought in his mind, this is how he states it, and he said he was getting hell from his wife, who's Larry David's wife in Curb Your Enthusiasm, because she's super pro-choice, that no, it should just be the woman's choice all the way in, because they were walking around under the assumption that these abortions were coming from people who were sane and actually caring about medical situations, and would never do that late term just for whatever random reason. But one of the things that came up, and I've been talking with somebody else about this, and I can pull you stuff from TikTok, like witch TikTok. She gets super upset and super angry that anybody mentions witches using abortion and like late stage abortion stuff for their rituals. But I hate to break it to you, it's real. At least people are bragging on it on TikTok. I can prove it to you. I'm not going to pull them up right now. I could pull them up if anybody wants links to them. Jay Dyer's channel has covered a whole lot of them. There's plenty of people claiming that they are Satanists, and part of their Satanism is to do late term abortions and have a ritual based around it. And RFK obviously looked it up and saw that there's thousands of people having these elective late term abortions. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say, yes, some of those are wackadoos who think they are being current day witches and Satanists. You guys have had them all over your Mormon discussion channel. Not that they're ones who did the abortion rituals, but you know that the witches are out there and the witchy stuff's getting popular. And there are people that maybe I'll post it in the links if anybody asks for it. I can post links of people claiming that all of this stuff is real and they participated in it. And there's podcasts about it everywhere. That's not just something that you get to just wave away. I'm sure it's not like millions, but it's real. It's there. It's out there. People are doing that,
There's enough goofballs to.
Yeah, and there's getting more and more goofballs getting into this witch stuff, and who actually. You remember when what's her name who like took over the Daily Show, Michelle Wolf or that Wolf, whatever.
Oh yeah.
You had an abortion, out. And if you don't think women who get into witchy stuff and like learn that there's all these like possible rituals that are absolutely true, all the way back to the original like occult feminism that Rachel Wilson talks about in her book Occult Feminism, that they don't think that they read about rituals that come from abortions, and they aren't going to say, hey, we're going to go try and do this because we're now these whatever witchy Satanists. There's witch TikTok that you can watch until the end of time of people at least claiming that they have the intent to do this or did to do it, and went and like held like ritual sacrifices in front of that Mexican Planned Parenthood that's named after Judge Alito. Stuff about Judge Alito.
I still can't believe that's real.
The flag stuff.
Oh, just they named the abortion clinic after.
Oh, but there's other weird stuff going on around Alita right now. Maybe I'll get into that later.
Yeah, I don't know what the flag thing is. I've only seen some talk about that.
Well, there's some stuff like some protesters are outside of Judge Alito's house. Supposedly, at some point or another, Judge Alito's wife posted an upside down flag, which is that flag of like the what?
I thought like traditionally
it's that heaven flag. Then. I think it was that flag that let me see if I can pull it, not to get too off track. It's like it comes from like classical liberalism. The flag, it's like this concept of it's like a green tree or something like that, and it means like the freedom of the individual to go to heaven without having a church as intermediary. It's called the reaching to heaven flag or something like that. And supposedly they're saying that it was like a Christian national or whatever sort of thing that she put that flag up to irritate the protesters or something like that. So now they're all trying to say you should be, it's the appeal to heaven flag. And then this appeal to heaven flag was hanging outside of the courthouse of San Francisco for something like 100 years. And they just quietly went out and took it down. The flag right here, appeal to heaven.
Of course.
It says this symbol represents the classical liberalism of John Locke and many of the American funding, and appeal to heaven refers to Locke's second treatise below when he rejects the divine right of kings and insists that a man always has the right to appeal to heaven himself first. But everybody's conflating that, and I even saw like Taylor Petrie say something about like everybody should denounce Alito and the church should denounce Alito because he's obviously saying Christian nationalist stuff type deals. And so there's this big old freak out with that. And then Vocal Distance just today did a really great thread, maybe I'll post it in a link, of all the times the left has altered dictionary meanings to win arguments. Dictionary Wikipedia altering definitions and articles so leftists can win arguments, a thread. But the first one of it shows here that the Wikipedia of that flag has been changed this many times in like a week. Like, look at that. They're trying everything they can to change the Wikipedia of that flag to make sure it's a white supremacist flag and not a classical liberal flag. Yeah.
Jeez.
Anyway, back to abortions.
Abortions.
Let's go to. Oh goodness. Okay, I'll jump to here. What are we at? 205? 2. Yeah. Jump into here.
Thing. He did an apology later. He was like, it's not what I meant. It was unclear. Blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no, it's pretty clear.
It's pretty clear.
It's pretty clear. Yeah. And the funny thing is that when you talk like this, it kind of makes it sound like you can't think of any other reason why anyone would have a problem with this. You can't think of any other reason. You can't think that maybe people are upset about it because of the consent issue. Maybe
This
people
feels so
statutory rape.
fucking irritating to me because I spent like 2 hours trying to ask her if maybe she could think of a different reason. Well, maybe there's a different reason why people don't like abortion. Maybe that's what they say. Maybe they think you're killing a person, a human. Maybe. Or
Nope.
maybe they're all secret. She's like, no, you're actually just secretly sexist.
It's all about rape and
Okay.
desire to control women.
So
Those are the things.
pretending, stop demanding nuance be applied to your opinion when you apply none of it. I'm going to go on a long Maven rant where I get really scoldy and yelly and I just do this thing. I am not here to be accused of sexism, Maven. I can't do a good Frosk.
I could probably find a video of that while we keep listening to her.
And maybe people have an aversion to that and they don't like to see children get abused or coerced into things. It's just like that just doesn't even settle. So it's got to be envy.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah. No,
you're really
children
telling on
getting
yourself
abused,
when
coerced, and
you do
abused.
stuff like that. So yeah.
When she
and then, of
talked
course,
about
there's
children being
a ton of
coerced and
trolls always
abused, I
out
want to
there.
ask
So-
her again about, like, okay, so like, can children gender transition, or is that coercion and abuse when you talk to little kids about cutting off their boobs and stuff?
Barbara Jones Brown, one of her tweets was responding. She
Barbara?
says, "Yeah,
Historian,
she said,
Mount Meadows Massacre.
Yes. And I love that she came in to try to defend here. She says, no, women and girls often can't control men's choice to ejaculate their semen into us, which is pretty graphic, but it's true. So Jacob's response is, well, let's make a deal then. He's not going to acknowledge what she just said. That's the thing. Like these so-called pro-lifers always want to dance around and never minimize and address any of these really serious things that are brought up. He says, let's make a deal. Let's allow states to ban all abortions in all cases except for cases of rape and the life of the mother. I'm going to guess she says no, because this is actually about something deeper and more evil. And this is what's really sinister about pro-lifers like Jacob. Because again, it's like that previous tweet where it's like, I can't think of a reason why people would be mad about statutory rape. Jacob is showing he cannot understand why women are mad that they don't have bodily autonomy and like their own like freedom over their reproductive system. And not.
But they did. They never did.
Yeah, they do right now.
They have more. I mean, they have more abortion rights in America than they do in your.
But even before that's before the abortion, it's right up to the level that they give us the rights over our bodies. Like we have the choice to not do the sex, just like they have the choice, and then we don't have a choice after we've done the sex. And that's basically all we're saying is that, like, kind of according to nature, you don't have much of a choice either, unless you do something breaking nature.
Well, nature is a patriarchal system of white heteronormative Eurocentric oppression.
Yeah.
You're about to get frostbitten. Fasten your seatbelt.
Oh, Christ.
All you geeks and gamers better stop jerking off to me, okay? I smell like burnt hair. That is stopping you. I fuck you like you're retarded because I think you're all retarded. I see the chat. I see you in the chat. Hit an F right now. Jerking off to your girl. Frostbitten. Now press F if you're not jerking off. Frostbitten. Body like tights. Frostbitten. Now press F if you're not jerking off. I see the chat. I see you in the chat. Hit an F right now. Jerking off to your girl. Weird.
That was amazing.
Do not. I'm gonna come. I'm not qualified. Go ahead, make my day. Call me Beaver Barbie.
Bitch, you're that goddamn ugly.
I jerked off to the dislike ratio.
I'm not hot to you? No.
No.
What in the heck did I just walk into?
People keep confusing me for prepubescent Justin Bieber. Someone in the chat called me Eminem mid-transition. Frostbitten. Press F if you're not jerking off. Frostbitten. Right like heights. Frostbitten. Now press F if you're not jerking off. I see the chat. I see you in the chat. Hit an F right now. Jerking off to your girl. I'm standing up for all the women at G4. Emily, Abby, Megan, Joe, Jake, Zipper, Pockets, Scissors, Tape and filing cabinet. X-ray girl, she's a beautiful young Oriental. X-ray girl, Jamie cock. Ask them the price of cock. X-ray girl, I got access for you to stroke your chopstick to. You don't like it? Go somewhere else.
That was amazing. I hadn't
seen her do the frostbite.
No,
I've seen her do rap, but
I've seen her do like her Frosk impression. I never saw the rap.
Yeah,
And it was just perfect having the cucks in the background, like, oh yeah,
Frost.
Yeah, no. Forrest pointed out too. Look at Bill and RFM. They just sit there and let her go on and on.
Oh,
and
they
on.
just sit there
They
and
treat her
just
like a little baby. No, they actually do. That's what I said.
Yeah.
RFM, he gets really mama bear over her, like because. Well, and that's kind of an instinct that you have when you see something helpless. And so there's a lot of people who are conditioned to make themselves out to look more helpless than they actually are. And that's what that's Maven. She makes herself look more helpless because people like RFM respond to it.
That's one of the concepts like I've heard forever about like the feminism is like they want you to view them as a girl boss who don't need no man, and you've got to help her.
Yeah.
You've got to help her, take care of her, lift her up, give her the jobs, but she don't need you. She don't need your help. She don't need your stuff, and you better stop and help and take care of her and lift her up. And did any of you see the debate between Andrew Wilson and Lauren Chen?
No,
I didn't.
Because Andrew Wilson, I mean, he's on that whatever podcast all the time, and so he comes in hot. He comes in hot with Lauren Chen, and he's a hardcore like Christian Orthodox, but he's
He's a cunt.
he's on this thing about you women don't understand that the nature of the world is that power is only ever allowed to you because we don't just go take it back.
Yeah, I've seen that one a lot.
Yeah, he's making that argument kind of like all the time to him. It's like, no matter what, you're begging us to let you be doing it. Because at any given time, if all men just banded together to take over women or something, they could do it or something like that. But then I saw this other meme this week of like saying like people like Maven like hallucinate and freak out about the Handmaiden's Tale. In the meantime, like Islam's like going on right now.
Only that it's just we feel entitled to something that he is just as entitled to. He absolutely feels entitled to for himself, but it's actually got to be more than that. It's got to be evil. And Jacob is not alone in this. There are plenty of, I didn't have enough time to get more, but just there's this idea of wanting to villainize women for wanting autonomy. And so Jacob is capable of this, but he's not the only one.
What?
Okay, first, women have autonomy, Maven. You conspiratorial persecution fantasy having maniac. Women do have autonomy. They do. Like, you live in a persecution fantasy.
They're getting villainized for it. Yes.
Of like accusing women who have abortions or who are for reproductive rights of literally being satanic. That was one of the first tweets to me when I started on Twitter. And again, this was before this was even in the conversation, but just knowing that I was a progressive was enough to just go ahead and call me like say that I perform abortions as part of like satanic ritual abuse. And there are people.
I'm sure that you don't do that. I believe you that you are the virgin that you say you are. But we've talked before about type 1 errors and type 2 errors. A type 1 error is you thinking every man you come across is a rapist. That is a type 1 error. A type 2 error is you saying that this doesn't exist. Type 1 is you are there when it's not there. Type 2 is you are not there when it is there. So you're 2 for 2 on the types of errors. That other one, I'm not saying all it's prevalent, but it's real. But people are ridiculous for claiming that you do it. I'm sure that you don't have ritual abortion baby killings.
People who legitimately say this, or they call it witchcraft, or will say abortions are actual sacraments or satanic rituals.
It's real, Maven. That's real. Like, it's one of those things that I feel crazy saying that it's real, but it's just like that. It's that same deal that like Dan McClellan gets mad at conservative people for saying, you idiots worship Moloch. And he says, Moloch wasn't even sort of some demon god. Well, then tell that to the idiots worshiping him, because they're real. They're real. That people are not saying
Nobody misunderstands Moloch quite like Moloch worshippers.
Yeah. And then the whatever goofy conservative guy says, you guys are kind of worshiping Moloch over there. Oh, you idiot. Moloch's not even like a real thing. And, yeah, sure. But like, go after the worshipers. But these idiot witches are real. They exist. It's a type 2 error if you think that they don't exist. I don't think it's millions and billions in yet, but the way religiosity is going in the world and so many people are moving over to this Wiccan witch shit, hold your horses. Like, hold your fucking horses. You know?
Legitimately like part of Satan worship here. So it's really disgusting and it's really dangerous. I mean, this is literally like being called witches. Like, we're going back to like Salem times when
You are not a witch.
Not. Oh my God.
People who think they are witches call themselves witches. You guys have had them on the channel. Bill has had them on the channel.
This kind of stuff, it's just insane to me. So yeah, they villainize women wanting autonomy, and it's because they want to control women. And I've been told that like I'm over exaggerating here about this, but I'm not. Let's hear some more quotes. This is there needs to be a moral code. Women should not be making their own choices. This is Jacob.
What kind of comment is that? Like, that's a dipshit comment of that women should not be making their own choices. Like, sometimes you wonder, is like, that's just some dipshit troll? Like, and is that a response of like this seems like a troll comment, maybe. That seems like a troll person coming in from the other side saying that, like, ironically. We talked earlier in this podcast about RFM saying what's wrong with that to the temple stuff. Like, that seems like somebody being sarcastic. And then they jump to Jacob here.
I would allow abortion in cases of rape if it were done very early in pregnancy.
Those emphases are yours.
Oh, you would allow, Jacob? You are
Voters would have to.
Oh yeah, this is where he doesn't.
They would allow. Yeah.
Here she pretends like she does the same thing my brother does when he doesn't understand who we is. When I say we, we have landed a man on the moon. Like, who's we?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to be like the arbiter?
Any one of us, if we're sitting there thinking about what we would socially
what would I be
vote
okay
for, we would say it that way.
Yeah.
For every case of rape, are you going to be the decider of that? Are you going to decide who had their?
Do you think you're making an argument right now? Do you actually think you're making an argument right now? Like, this is actually annoying.
Yeah.
What the fuck even is this? Oh, so you're just gonna go to every single one? You're just gonna go to every single woman, like King Solomon style. They're gonna come up to you and say, "Please, I need an abortion." You're gonna say, "Well, tell me, have you been raped?" And you're gonna say yes, and you're gonna determine every single one of them, huh?
Willing to just temporarily give them back a little bit for this abortion, but you're going to take it back because you are in control. You believe that it is insane to me that people like you, you're entitled to talk like this about people that you do not know and circumstances that you have nothing to do with or know anything about at all. And especially
how do you feel about vax
going back to
mandates,
what you
Maven? Do you think I should have been fired from my job for not getting the COVID shot?
Aren't you thinking about the greater good?
And she also like this things where she's like, "Oh, and you're talking about situations that you don't even know about." Yeah, Maven, you don't know about a lot of those situations too. Like, you should stay out of it for all the same reasons that Jacob should stay out of it. Like,
my first encounter with you, where it was really, really difficult for you to say something is rape when it's about your beloved prophet. That really says something. You know what? And there's plenty of politicians like that. There's just so many problems with this because the concept of rape is defined by people really differently. So when you just hand women's bodies over, including your loved ones, your mother, your sister, your daughter, your wife, that the government is in charge of their bodies, you put them at the risk of like
Comes libertarian Maven.
the most extreme, because their choices, they can't even make their own choices anymore. So it just depends on like how fucking evil people are in their particular state.
So like I notice, like you know how they're always quick to mention that conservatives are always being ruled by their inner disgust and their descriptions of evil. But almost any time you see Sam or her or Kara get on their high horse, listen for how many times the word disgust and evil are dropped.
And whether they think, like the senator that said women can't get pregnant if a rape is legitimate. And as I've mentioned on an earlier show, the youngest child to give birth is 5 years old. So just the idea that anyone, like any minor, let alone women, obviously, who are raped, just that if a pregnancy happens, that means they wanted it. It's just awful. It's awful. And then we had a Utah senator that was saying that, it's not wrong to have sex with his wife when she's sleeping, where it's like, there's a lot of men who feel like wives are their property and marital rape is not even a thing. And it's too bad that we've got laws on the books now, which are very, very recent, by the way. This is a text from my dad. If your life was in danger, I would help you get a plane ticket to California.
There was some
Jacob, my dad is like
Twitter
you.
thing that
He
people
says the
took
same kinds of
out
things.
hand to be like,
So, but no, like, I would like to know the whole context.
I remember it floating around Twitter. I don't remember.
Yeah, I only vaguely remember.
I don't know.
it's one of
Like,
those things
if
where
you're
they
just saying like, no matter what my wife said, I can fuck her while she's sleeping. Well, that's fucked up, right? But like, I don't know. If my wife started trying to do me while I was asleep, I'm not gonna make.
It's like
I remember seeing this. She actually showed me this hilariously amazing Reddit post where this guy tried to act like he was all but my girlfriend. She woke me up with a blowjob, like, and she didn't even ask for my consent. And the problem is, I feel like I was violated, but it was also really hot, so I don't know how to feel about this. And of course, it's Reddit, so it's all like you were raped and stuff like that. But
that's funny. That's like it's like.
But then on the other side, like, send that to any man. Like, you're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit for not appreciating that, you stupid son of a bitch. You don't deserve her.
That's something that I have never tried to do, but it is something that a woman did once tell me.
Wake up a man blowing him.
Yeah. No, sorry.
If it's rape, Maven, hi, I've been raped. Like,
but like that is something like a woman did once tell me direct, like, if you wanted to, that'd be fine with me. Like, oh, all right. I don't think that'll come up, but
well, I guarantee you, the senator that are talking about it wasn't like he was just sitting on Twitter and just announced, "I can bang my wife in her sleep." Like, it was just something that got teased out when people were talking about hypotheticals and situations, and he has some sort of that arrangement with his wife or that understanding with her, and he said it out loud.
Yeah.
But whatever. This is the screenshot of she has on the screen calling her dad, putting out for everybody, calling her dad piece of shit motherfucker, which is kind of
I can think of one mother he fucked.
Exactly.
You wouldn't get it, Maven. It's an allosexual joke.
Why? Like, why would you like?
About abortion, he likes to call it baby murder when it's about women that he doesn't like and that he wants to control. But if he thinks I'm in danger, because this would be up to his opinion, all of a sudden the states' rights.
It's not up to his opinion. It's if you're gonna die, you idiot. Like, that's the whole thing. That's not really a matter of ectopic pregnancy. You're gonna die. Find me a person who would tell you to die from the ectopic pregnancy who isn't also like a member of the Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say, like, kind of what feels like an elephant in the room that I think everyone noticed, but like, if you just look at this, like what she's been talking about, what she did to herself, what she's afraid of in the world, and what she calls her dad, like, Maven, we're all getting kind of an individualist picture of your life, not like a whole huge thing of some societal thing. Like, you are revealing your little life. And I'm sorry if it's been rough and tough, but it doesn't dictate my politics. But I can kind of see, or maybe who knows what did or didn't happen, or how you took things or got offended at things. But this is all just insight into your psychosexual neuropathy, and making it everybody else's politics. When we're just coming here from some ex-Mormonism, stop it and stop modding us based off of whatever internal battle's going on with you right here, please.
There's very, very, very much about. He's okay to try to circumvent them and send me off to California to get my life saved. And it just astounds me that it just doesn't occur to him why he would need to do that in the first place, that he is the reason why I would have to flee to another state potentially to save my life. And that's if there's time to be saved, because
I thought the laws in Utah just say the Utah laws just pass.
I guarantee this is like an unwinding, bizarre hypothetical situation where she's like, so what if I was gonna die? If I was gonna fucking die, would you take me to get an abortion? She's like, well, yeah. And what if it? But what if it was illegal even then in Utah? But it was still legal in California.
Yeah,
Well, then
you already had to do the Utah hypothetical. That's not the current realism. You know, like, if your life is in danger, you can get an abortion in Utah.
Sat through a funeral with me of a young mother, 23 years old, and only 9 weeks along. She was in her first trimester, first pregnancy, and a good Mormon woman, sealed in the temple to her husband. She's doing the thing that she's supposed to be doing.
Hold on. The thing you got to ask yourself while you're listening to this is, okay, this is obviously a case that she's bringing up where, had this woman had access to abortion, her life would have been saved, right? All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Forrest says he hopes RFM is playing Civilization. Maybe that's how he was able to not even react to any of this.
He's nodding like
he's
a
playing
little
Zelda
every time she says anything.
Her pregnancy killed her in seconds. She had her phone with her and she didn't even have time to call for help. So that's the thing, Jacob. Every pregnancy,
She could have gotten an abortion if they would have taught it.
I don't understand the telling of this story, because, like, where does abortion access come into this story? Because it sounds like this was just a medical thing, that access to abortion doesn't enter into this story, as far as I can tell.
She could have. The closest I can think of is like, oh well, if she would have known that she could have an abortion, she could have had an abortion before she knew that she had this life-threatening thing, on the off chance that she had this life-threatening thing. I don't know what it is, because she's talking about this. Her cousin is like an active Mormon, this woman that died in her pregnancy. It's this tragic thing, but I'm assuming she didn't want an abortion, and she didn't know.
Yeah, no, like this has nothing to do with abortion rights or access. And again, like, this thing we keep coming back to. Right now, according, like, I went to the Abortion Finder website, which is the one that is linked on the pro-choice Reddit, and I went and looked at every state. And right now, according to Abortion Finder, there is not a state where a woman cannot get an abortion if her life is in danger. Like, according to the Abortion Finder website, that's the case currently everywhere in America. If your life is in danger, you have a legal right to an abortion. So what are we arguing about? Like, Jacob's okay with it. Your piece of shit dad's okay with it. We're all okay with it. Why are you fighting everybody about this?
Because of the version of abortion she doesn't want to talk about, which is entirely elective and used as birth control.
Oh, that's right.
Because that's harder to defend. Because who would... Jesus Christ.
It really is that stupid, though. Like, I really do think it is that thing, like I said earlier, about the how close is too close. Is that, like, she won't say, like, I believe that women should be able to have an abortion all the way up until the moment of birth. Because, like, also, like, at that point, we're like, well, why? Then what's so special about the moment of birth? Like, if a woman has a week-old baby and is just like, you know what, I'm not feeling it, why shouldn't she have the right to end that life?
It's her body. It's her choice. I actually got into a big argument with my brother-in-law about abortion over the weekend. It was really funny because I mean, he sticks with the bodily autonomy argument, which is mostly their best argument.
Mostly.
Well, it is, but then it falls apart as soon as you say, as soon as you bring up the hypothetical of, okay, 9 months, can she have an abortion just based on her bodily autonomy? Because they'll either say yes, because I believe in bodily autonomy to the extreme, and they'll sound like a fucking monster, or they'll say no, in which case you just have to say, oh, well, then you're actually violating their bodily autonomy. And I even, and they'll all tell you, they'll even tell you if you say like, okay, what if I just don't want my 2-year-old anymore? And I just leave him. I just leave the house and leave him in a room by himself to fend for himself. Like, well, no, you can't do that because you could give him to somebody else. I'm like, but you're violating my bodily autonomy to some degree. You're saying that I am forced to use my body to sustain him until I can get him to somebody else to take care of him. You're willing to violate bodily autonomy.
Yeah.
Look at this. Cultural Hall says to Forrest, I guess your brother, but come on, this is vile stuff. So vile.
Was Forrest in there?
No, this was in the
You know what's funny in that?
oh, he was in there yesterday, I think.
You remember? It's funny you brought it up because I'd almost forgotten about it. But the story I told you about, where that guy that I was talking, this is many, many years ago, but a gay guy who was a Mormon guy who was gay and struggling with being gay and Mormon, and I was, that whole thing where I just like, like, if you're Mormon, then just be Mormon, and if not, then don't. And he's the guy who assaulted me, like he put his hands around my neck and said I had no idea what I was talking about. He's a big commentator in this chat. I noticed I saw his name pop up a whole bunch. I was like, oh, that's
the person who did that?
Yeah, the guy who did that.
Really? Wow.
It's funny to see that he's still in
the
world.
The full name? Oh, you should tell me what the name is. Look at Maven's face right here. She's telling the story of her sister or whatever. Was it her cousin who died? That smile.
Well, she's blaming her dad. She's like, this piece of shit motherfucker is sitting here at her funeral. He's the reason that she died. It's because of policies like a lack of access to abortion did not kill her.
Yeah. And so, it's a weird thing for you to bring that up. As far as I can tell, like, it's just one of those things. It's like, I don't know. I've been trying to come up with an analogy about this, and it's hard because it's, abortion. But like so much of it, I feel like it's like, well, it's like traffic fatalities because people, when a lot of times when I say my, if only there was some way to prevent unwanted pregnancies, and they always go, like birth control isn't 100% effective, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Like just like seatbelts aren't 100% effective, so there's no sense in advising people to wear seatbelts because they're not 100% effective, And they're especially not effective. Like, if you put on your seatbelt and then deliberately drive your car as fast as possible into a tree, like the seatbelt's not effective. And so there's just no sense in even trying, And it's just like general analogy. It's like, okay, look, everybody agrees that like renting a van and driving it through pedestrians is bad, right? But the vast majority of traffic fatalities are drunkenness, not wearing a seatbelt, being tired, and distracted. It's choices. Like the vast majority of traffic fatalities are due to poor choices. Like sometimes some maniac deliberately decides to use their vehicle as a murder weapon. Yep, that happens, but it's incredibly rare. And it's like I feel like this is the discussion we're trying to have with abortion people. Where it's like, no, look, we're talking about don't drink and drive. Follow the speed limit, slow down in bad weather, right? Wear your seatbelt, keep your car, like make sure your brakes work. And you're talking about like, well, what do you do if somebody mows you down in their car? Like, okay, there's nothing we can do about that though. And everybody thinks that's wrong. There's nobody saying that they think that's okay, right?
Well, the statistics show that once you make drinking and driving illegal, drinking and driving rates go up.
Exactly. And also you're controlling people's bodies by telling them like, what do you mean?
That's what also happened with the birth control pill, Maven. Birth went up. Yeah, at first.
Unwanted pregnancies
went up. Yeah.
A lot.
I suggest that smile that she has right there is what is called the duper's delight. duping delight, also known as the cheater's high, a temporary feeling of excitement that some people experience when they successfully deceive or cheat someone, can occur before, during, or after a lie, and conclude a sense of contempt for the person being deceived. I propose that's what you're doing right here with this little smile, man.
I got sneezels.
Unacceptable.
What? Abortions weren't illegal when my sister-in-law died?
I can't believe she's like, I mean, it's so obvious she's like putting on display. I don't think she even mentioned, because I wasn't looking at the screen when this happened, so I didn't even notice it till the next day that she was just sitting there putting on display for her whole world that she's calling her dad piece of shit motherfucker. And in the same stream, she mentions that she's all afraid now that her parents now know her avatar name. So now they can find it. So now she's on that very same episode putting up great big text message shots from her dad calling him piece of shit motherfucker. The hell are you doing?
So I told my dad this, and I'll tell you this. You can go to her fucking gravesite and tell her that it's okay to get an abortion and see if it helps. One of the first like news stories after Dobbs was of a 10-year-old that had to flee Ohio to be able to get an abortion. And it's just like, why? If it was so easy, why did she have to flee her state? You know.
How does she think this is an argument? How long do you focus on this story of a woman who didn't want an abortion, not getting an abortion, and then dying of an ectopic pregnancy that she didn't know about, and saying, if only abortion could have saved her life? Which, by the way, I imagine this happened during, like, before Roe v. Wade was overturned. So, like, if she had wanted the abortion, she could have had it.
Well, now she gets into the point where she starts talking about hypotheticals with Jacob's daughter, and I would urge you to watch all the smiles through this as well, because it's great big
fucking
smiley hypothetical.
This is some wacky groomer shit.
Is not, or this one's a safe one, this pregnancy is safe and this one's not. You can't do that. You're ignorant. You're so ignorant, and it's just awful. So anyway, I want to tell you something. This is how I'm going to end. Okay. Back to the idea that there's no red carpet, all right, for pro-lifers like you. I know that you have a daughter, Jacob. Okay, and I know you're raising her in this church. I know you're raising her in this church where her voice doesn't matter. She's not ever going to have any authority over a man. She's going to be disregarded son. I know that you're teaching her that, her life and purpose is to be a mother, be a wife and mother, pop those kids out, raise them, that, if she doesn't want kids or if she delays, that's her being vain or worried about her discomfort, blah, blah, blah. I know, I was raised in it. I know that's how you're doing it. But listen, if your daughter ever needs an abortion and can't get one, it'll be because of pro-life voters like you. If she's forced to give birth.
Oh, shit.
Tell him, Frost!
Oh, mic drop, Frost. That's one of the dumbest things she said. She's like, did you know that if your daughter wants an abortion and she can't get one, it's going to be because of pro-life voters like you? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. That's the entire fucking point.
As a teenager, against her will, if she suffers like fallout, mental and physical, like lifelong consequences from something like that, it'll be because of pro-life voters like you. All right. If she loses her fertility, if she becomes disabled, or again dies because of complications of pregnancy or childbirth because she couldn't get an abortion, it'll be because of pro-life voters like you. All right. Let's say you do get her an abortion. Let's say you take her to a clinic, and let's say it's for all three, the rape, incest, and for her life.
Look at the big old smile, like right through. Let's say your daughter Jacob got rape, incest, and smiley, smiley, smiley.
It's in danger. Okay. We get all of your exceptions covered. All right. If she has to go through a gauntlet of screaming pro-lifers, calling her a whore to her face and a baby murderer,
how
often? They are all pro-life.
What would it be like
you?
to have some activist screaming in your face? What would that be like? What would it be like to just be trying to watch fucking Mormon discussions live and some fucking activist pops on and starts yelling at you, calling you a disgusting piece of shit?
This is amazing. Christopher says this just sounds like Pascal's wager of abortions.
Jacob, they're not going to care if it's her life that is in danger. They don't give a fuck. Just like you don't give a
You
fuck.
are so giddy about Jacob suffering through that hypothetical moment in your mind.
He wants it.
You want that.
About anybody else's daughter or sister or wife that's not directly related to you enough to worry about. Okay, they're not going to give a shit about her just the way you don't give a shit about me or anybody else. All right, they're not going to care if it wasn't consensual, like that she was just, you know, she wasn't just spreading her legs out for everybody. They're not going to care. If she is
Smiled right through all that.
able to get an abortion, even in states where abortion is banned, the reason why that there are exceptions that actually can be enforced that she can use, the people who are fighting for that are pro-choicers like me. We're the ones that open that up for you. If you had to take your daughter to a clinic for a needed abortion,
You're
there's
welcome.
the people who are screaming, there's the pro-lifers who want to chant, and you know, it doesn't even matter. Your daughter could be 10 years old and they will do this to her. They will still call her a whore. They will still call her a baby
babe,
murderer.
I don't
shut
believe
the
that.
fuck up. How many times, like, I'm sure it's happened before that a 10-year-old has been screamed at and called a whore. And
A pregnant
and
one?
like, I don't know. I'm
just
trying
trying to
to,
think,
I
like,
bet you it's
there's-
pretty damn low that it's pregnant
Yeah,
10-year-olds
like I mean,
that are
like,
called
like
whores.
you know,
yeah, I know.
there's
I'm saying,
it's a big world, and we've seen a lot of horrible things. But yeah, but like if you were to take like a general poll of like, you know, would a 10-year-old pregnant girl be a whore? Like I'm pretty sure it'd be like 0.0000% of people who would affirm that statement.
I mean, think of all the people in that in your life that that label themselves pro-life, and if somebody in the crowd screams at a 10-year-old girl and calls them a whore, how many of those people would be like, "Hey, dude, fuck off"? Almost
Yeah.
all.
No, like, but again, like this just goes to show, like we always talk about, like, because Maven's caricature of conservatives is like, I mean, she's a Nazi. She thinks like a Nazi. What Nazis think about Jews is what Maven thinks about pro-lifers. Literally, she thinks that they're just monsters. They're just they just want to control her. They can't even mask their desire to just have total control over her. That's the only thing they care about is power over me. Like, yeah, you think like a Nazi, Maven. That's exactly what Nazis think, and it's retarded. Jacob, for all of his many faults and flaws, which I'm happy to go on and on and on about, if you want to talk about that, like Jacob's not a monster, and he wants good things for people. Like, and he's being more realistic about. Like, it's funny because you talk about like, Jacob's not realistic about abortion. No, Maven, you're the one that's not realistic about abortion. Jacob is the one who's being realistic. He's the guy who's saying like, look, I grant you all of the major exceptions for rape, incest, and risk of the mother. But let's talk about the reality of what is happening, which is that the vast majority of abortions are birth control and are preventable by simply making better choices. And what's wrong with telling women you can make better choices and you should?
And we pointed out already, but Forrest is mentioning that Jacob already said he's pro-abortion for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. Funny that she started with that tweet. It is funny because we pointed this out. I don't know if you heard it, Forrest, but she starts out with that tweet, and that's a tweet that her and Jacob actually agree on everything. They both agree that if a woman is raped or a victim of incest or her life is in danger, that she should be allowed access to an abortion. And that's all she talks about in this insane rant. She never says anything about what they disagree about.
No, but like that's the thing though. Like, I mean, one thing, she's an activist. She's chasing a dragon. She is the witch hunter.
I would love to see the version of Maven where all abortion is legalized, and what happens to her in her like St. George in retirement phase.
You got to fight the next battle.
Well, yeah. Well, no,
incest should be legal.
Yeah, well, no, but that's exactly though. Like, 'cause that's the thing where it's like, you know, where she's not willing to draw a line. Because, like, you know, I mean, like with me, like the practical arguments about like, look, it's complicated. There are medical issues. There are personal issues. Rape could be a factor. Incest. There's so many things. Like, for me, that's the reason why it should be legal and private, is because like it's too complicated, and a world where we try to adjudicate all of those things is worse than a world where a woman can go get an abortion that I think is immoral, you know. But like, I'm also totally willing to compromise. Like, okay, like 20 weeks. Okay. Like, because one of the many things, like when you're talking to the mavens of the world about this stuff, they talk about like, what about rape? Like, okay, well, what about Plan B? Like, if you normally you were raped, right? Like, because you were just minding your own business, and then you got raped, and so just go get Plan B. Like, first off, you got raped. So you should be at the hospital and you should be filing a police report, right? Because that's what rape is. And then you can get Plan B at the hospital. It's all covered, and you need to be getting all that taken care of. And they need to start an investigation, right? If you got raped, and then, but like, let's even just say, like, okay, well, what about like, I don't know, you passed out, or maybe even you got roofied. And so you didn't even know. That's extremely rare, but it certainly happens, right? So what's the amount of time that like a woman needs to like know they're pregnant and get that sorted out? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. 12 weeks, 20 weeks, whatever. But even then, like, okay, well, we don't know, and it's a rape, so let's just
We saw
allow for that. But
RFK back off a full term back to like a full trimester to at least the second trimester. Who knows if he back up more of that? So a lot of people say the first trimester that used to be part of the legislation, but they removed it all. But somebody's got to draw the arbitrary line somewhere. But I think whether it's drawn anywhere at any point, I think people should be able to opt out of being a part of paying for that for anybody.
Yeah, no, that's true for sure. Like, I mean, because like part of my problem is like, for one thing, the rape exception is just completely stupid, and I can't believe intelligent people talk about it as though it's practical in any way, sense, or form. Because literally, like, if the law is like, okay, well, you have the legal right to an abortion if you are raped. Okay,
I was
so again, like, if that's the case, then there needs to be an investigation, right? Somebody needs to be charged, right? And obviously that just becomes ridiculous. Immediately that just becomes completely like a farcical nightmare if we actually tried to make that world real. And so like that's one of those reasons why I think like, okay, that's why women should just have access to abortion, because I believe it's possible for a woman to be raped and for there to be no evidence of it, for it not to be prosecutable. Like, I believe that is a thing that can happen. And so that's a reason why I think that a woman, if she needs to, should be able to go get an abortion and keep it private and to herself and not have it be anybody's fucking business, right? But the argument we're having with Maven is like, at the same time, like, no, I think we should tell women, there is some shame in getting knocked up. Like, just like feminists are happy to shame men who knock women up, they've got nothing but utter scorn for men who knock women up. Just a little bit, just a fraction of that shame. I think that women who get knocked up deserve just a little bit of like, no, make better choices, you dingbat.
Forrest says he's going to make a video about it.
I know.
Oh, yay.
I'm excited. His videos will get people's attention. It got Kara to take down retarded Cardin take, so that was pretty cool.
But you know what? At places.
Look at that. Sometimes, like when I watch her body language, like you know those body language channels that try to tell you like what people are thinking from body language. I don't love those. Like I think they're over the top. But if I watched her talking about Jacob's daughter getting the worst things in the world done to her, and I watched it on silent, I would think I'm watching like a used car salesman commercial. She's like, why all this exuberance?
Like this, there are people who try to protect people like you and your daughter and try to kind of surround them and get them into the building safely. Those people are pro-choicers like me. Okay? They're people like me. So I just want you to know that. And if anything happened, Jacob, if your daughter needed help, I know some people like to think that like we find it kind of funny when people like you finally.
So I'm torn between trying to mind read her a little bit because I know you're not supposed to mind read Scott Adams stuff because there's obvious this issue between her and her dad in her life that's obviously had to play some major role in her stuff. You could even like toss in the Mormon Church, probably didn't help things too much with the scrupulosity that comes from all that sort of deal. But the flip end of that is we know that she's announced that she's had to really dig deep and find her Selma reason. And did you only really buy into this super duper hard because you decided you had to make your Selma stand and you found this thing? Like you researched the thing that could be my Selma stand. And that's really the only reason why you care so hard about this right now, because you are making your Selma stand.
Well, it makes me think of, did you ever read that article, Dear Mormon Man? You probably did. It's basically this.
The AI in my brain just wrote it and downloaded it into my mind. I can just imagine.
Okay, I want to tell me what you think it is. Tell me what you think it is.
It's Maven stuff, isn't it? It's like, oh, just listen and
I remember
be aware and have
Dear Mormon
consciousness.
Man is, she basically writes this thing. It's like, Dear Mormon Man, you come to church and the bishopess gives a talk on blah 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 blah, and then they go to bless your baby, and you're not allowed to hold the baby, but your wife goes up with all the priestess.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
And it's just such an on the nose reversal of roles, and there were people that were like, that one blew my mind. I had never thought of it like that. It's like, what the fuck? Are you like single digit IQ? Holy shit. You retard. How do you not know? Like, oh, men and women are treated differently in the Mormon church. No, they're not. Well, imagine there's only a female leader instead of a male leader. Oh my God. I didn't see it.
So spastic.
Get a clue, like when we see these newspapers who are like, I was pro-life till it almost killed my daughter, and now I see like what a bad idea it is. You know, you could know now, but if that's what it takes for you to finally wake up, I won't be laughing at you, Jacob. I won't be
Yes, you would.
Yeah,
you would do that.
gleefully giggling that your daughter is caught in the crossfires of your quote unquote morals. I'll be pissed. I'll be pissed because you made it happen. You supported it, and that this is happening to her despite everything that I'm doing.
He made it happen.
He made
like
it
the
happen.
scenarios she's
Despite
talking about, he made it happen.
Yeah, despite everything that she's doing.
Despite everything that the hypothetical rapists would be doing too. He made that happen.
All right. And Jacob, if she needed help, I would help her. If she needed to get out of state, I will help her. I will risk a felony. I've already been arrested for this. So you know what?
Yes,
I
you
can
have.
get her the help that even
Badass.
you need.
Look at the smiles. It looks like a vault. The picture of the guy in the vault for Vault Tech. Like,
Yeah, Fallout Boy. Yeah.
It's while you can stay home comfy and not have to risk jail, so you can at least try to take care of her when she comes back. And I won't do it for you, Jacob, because I don't give a fuck about you, but I do care about your daughter and her ability to make her own choice.
you care about hurting Jacob's feelings.
Go off, Frosk.
You care very much about hurting Jacob's feelings.
And to be safe and to have access to health care. So that's it. That's my rant. I am done.
Okay, very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you, Maven. Man,
Can I add something, Marvin?
$5 doesn't
Yeah,
cover that. Jacob, I think
I
you
got
need to make
more.
another
Sorry.
donation to the show.
Yeah.
I want to do.
Maven, I want you off of the mod boards of all these channels. That's
Yeah,
what I would like.
Please.
That'd be amazing.
Let me put this back up. I just wanted to say again, Jacob, even if your daughter got this necessary abortion, people like you, again, these pro-lifers, she will still be called a whore, a baby murderer, all these things, okay, that you have said. People are going to say about your daughter the rest of her life. They're not going to care if it was legitimate. They're not going to care.
This sounds like the licked cupcake lesson you're giving us here, Maven.
Not a whore or a slut or
And that she's going to be forever called a licked cupcake.
or any of that. Okay. Just like you didn't care how accurate it was when you came to my page to tell me that I care about this because I just want to have wanton, casual, unprotected sex. The accuracy of the statement that people say about your little girl isn't going to matter, just like you didn't care about the accuracy of what you said about me. So there.
He wasn't saying it about you.
Now I'm done.
I wanna just add one little thing.
to get through a whole piece by piece
No, he was
response.
just saying like a generality of. He was talking about the general public of, you know.
This is such a church fight. It really is.
Yeah.
This idea that people come to this issue, and I would encourage folks.
Here's
by the way,
Bill coming to tell us that the neutral science told us the truth about these facts.
It's nice how science always seems to like factually prove my social stances.
Bill reviewed the neutral rational science and it's overwhelming.
throw it up here on the screen. There's a lot of great websites that explain the pros and cons of various issues. Obviously, pro-life and pro-choice is one that creates a lot of allegiance on one side, often due to religion. On the other side, because men seem to have such a overpowering voice over women's bodies. And again, I know that there's women that disagree too.
Yeah,
For
that's
me,
the
this
thing.
journey
That's
was
just
years
how
and
that
years ago.
is.
So, wanting to look at this issue like I look at lots of issues with critical thinking skills as best as I know how. And procon.org. You
This
can
is
look
his
up abortion, and
testimony
you can go
voice.
through without
Well, that's why I call is like it's back to church for neoliberalism. It's like neoliberal substrate of all things testimony meeting or something.
Bark here, of course, it's the very moment he's going to do it. Pro and con, and you can go through all the pros and all the cons. And when you take out the idea that I know that there's a God and my belief system is the one true belief system, and you just set that off to the side and you go, what is the hurt and negative benefit to the women, to our
How do you explain all us, Bill? How do you explain all us? Jacob couldn't explain Maven. How do you explain us?
society on both sides of the issue? It became so obvious to me in a moment where I was willing to go either way on the issue if the data pointed me in a certain direction. When I studied all the pros and cons of pro-life and pro-choice, and I would encourage people on both sides to be informed enough to sort of understand why you think these things. What became really clear to me is that people, women, are safer, and society is healthier when we respect women's ability to make choices about their own
like
body.
society's healthier,
and it goes far beyond just protecting.
I think that's such like a unproved claim.
No. It's science. It is
yeah.
scientifically proven that society is safer and just all around better. Other than unless you think that the thing inside the woman is a human that's being killed, then that one isn't safe. Like that,
it has to have
that little
such
guy,
like a crazy
that
presupposition
little guy isn't
to
safe,
it.
but everybody else is like great. It's
Like
kinda
if you fit it in your narrow little box of one little concept of who is benefiting.
Who's old enough to remember feminists talking about how in China, because of the one-child policy combined with traditional Chinese cultural values concerning boys and girls, that female baby fetuses were being disproportionately aborted. And I remember, I'm old enough to remember one feminist saying that this was a bad thing.
Leslie says maybe should spend more time with women who've had abortions and regret it. And that is true of some of the women who expressed to me one of the reasons they expressed to me why they had an abortion. Actually, in most cases, except for those ones who had multiple abortions, which I'd say was 3 different women. But even them, even one of them at least, another one of them was kind of just like, I have abortions. But most of the other ones were telling me that they had extreme regret. That's what was coming out in the confession or talking.
societal conditioning.
Oh yeah. Oops.
What else could it be?
Internalized misogyny, but anyway, science. They're saying health and well-being. I think it's well-being.
I mean,
person,
because that's another thing with just in general is that like, because like Maven's like, Jacob doesn't know about the risks of pregnancy. It's like, no, I think Jacob does know about that. Now, Maven, is it okay to talk about like this fact that there are women who express enormous regret and depression and like decades of depression because of abortion? Can we talk about that? Like, obviously,
She
no. We
also-
know that.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get to it, but she also talks about here about basically kind of saying that women feeling lonely in older age when they never got married or anything isn't a thing.
Yeah, I
And
know.
it's just like, come
I
on,
love-
man. Like,
every fucking doctor show has that like outlandish episode where this pregnant lady comes in with some mild symptoms and then all of a sudden she's in a coma and they have to give the husband like the terrible decision of you choose the baby or your wife, and he's just like sobbing uncontrollably with this, who wants this decision, what do I do, what would I know, she would want me to choose a baby, all this stuff. I would love to just like watch this with like a group of feminists and just be like, what the fuck is this bitch crying about? Just it's just a clump of cells. Who fucking cares, man?
Yeah. What's a clump of cells next to a woman's bodily autonomy?
I know several women too who've had like full funerals and extreme difficulties with just miscarriages and
Dude.
named their clump of cells. So.
No, that would have been me. If we would have had miscarriages, it would have like, and I don't even have the baby in my body. You bond with those little fuckers when you feel them kicking and stuff. I would have been destroyed. I can't imagine what it would have been like for my wife. Like, she feels the thing inside her all the time. That's got to be such a terrible mind fuck. But they should just get over it because there's a clump of cells.
Sex. It really is the well-being and good of society. Who's in prison and who's not?
Only if you're setting the parameters of looking at very few little things. And then they start bringing up the freakonomics about the concept of less crime because of the abortion. Like, okay, Democrat man, like you've saved the day. Like that's such a low-key kind of eugenicist argument for why abortion's good. Like you have no idea.
I just want to go in there under the guise of being full on like crazy pro-choice and just make like arguments from Iceland that are just pure eugenics, where you're like, well, you see, it's actually really difficult. Nobody knows this, but it's really difficult to raise a kid with Down syndrome. You have to deal with a lot of shit. Luckily in Iceland, we just kill them, it's great. We've cured Down syndrome. We don't have to deal with people with Down syndrome. Yeah, we were okay with that.
Yeah, no, like, because I mean, it's a debilitating situation, and people make fun of society. Like, Down syndrome people aren't allowed to be doctors or pilots or junior high school teachers.
Is it really
like they're barred? Yeah.
You just think about it, like you know, like all the DEI stuff that we're suffering from, like a competency crisis. Just imagine that, like all the black abortion that supposedly all these white Christian nationalists are against, like they wanted all those black babies born. Just imagine like we could get some of that competency crisis covered if we had how many more millions of black Americans would there be in the country right now if there hadn't been those abortions? Like it would be like they'd be catching up to us on, like for real. It's like why have they remained at like 13%? Like they'd probably be up around 25-30% if like abortion wasn't there. But what you gonna do? Oh, I saw this. I filmed this funny little clip from Malcolm in the Middle. I was watching Malcolm in the Middle last night, and hold on a second here. Where'd you check this out?
You guys already have your careers planned? Not just lock into running a particle accelerator, With my intelligence and tokenism, the
The stuff you can say in the 90s.
That's right. I forgot that was a character.
Malcolm in the Middle.
The asthmatic black kid in the wheelchair who's a genius.
My intelligence and tokenism, the sky's the limit.
That was such a great show because it didn't do any of the formulas that most of those sitcoms do. Like no
I need
laugh
to
track.
revisit that show.
It's great. There's no
good.
laugh track. It's a single angle camera, and yeah, they broke the formula of the 2 boys and 1 girl or 2 girls and 1 boy that they always have. They just had they have 4 boys, and then they had a 5th one, and they just said fuck this formula. And that great first episode where Malcolm stands up to the bully who tries to punch him, misses, accidentally hits Stevie, the black kid in the wheelchair. He just barely nicks his chin. And Stevie kind of looks around for a second and then just goes, "What?" Just tips over in the chair. Oh, God, no.
There's a lot of good stuff in it. I'm about 3 seasons into it. Kind of slowly poking through that in King of the Hill still. So good stuff in the 90s, man.
There's a lot. I mean,
Freakonomics.
it's poverty.
Freakonomics.
Yeah,
Freakonomics.
poverty, crime rate.
Freakonomics told us abortion helped crime. Look at happy non-crime Maven.
Yeah.
Got rid
All
of
of
that.
that-
We aborted that crime away.
It actually, so a lot of states that have abortion bans have not reduced their abortions, even though there are women now and children. Let's say, it's also children who are having babies. Maternal fatality is increasing. It also increases infant mortality. So that is on the rise. So you're killing more babies, wanted ones this time when you put bans in place, and then also people who would want kids, when you make it too dangerous to have a safe abortion, and people who are
You're
more
killing
responsible,
more wanted babies when abortion bans are in place. You're killing more wanted babies.
Yeah, this is absurd.
When abortion bans are in place. Like, I'm even trying to even if I give them their twisted cherry pick statistics.
How often
I
has
can't
a
figure that one
wanted
out.
baby been killed? Like aborted?
Yeah, that's just utter nonsense. That's a fantasy. Again, I mean, I keep saying it over and over again, but I think she's demonstrating it for us is that feminism is flat earth levels of stupid. And I think we just heard that. That statement that abortion bans kill even more wanted babies. No.
Oh, well. It's got to be true.
Bans reduce abortions.
choosing not to.
That's where they get about to the end of it. I don't really have much more. The only other thing I wanted to pull up is a Cultural Hall. Make sure to call in to plug his new channel.
I did not see that part.
Oh, he's a wild and crazy guy.
Is he so crazy?
Oh, the wild and crazy
Did he bring his ukulele with him on the show?
Does he play? He doesn't play any instrument. He just puts it in the
I don't know.
back.
It's I tried to assume what's the most hack thing that somebody can play.
He plays the karaoke machine.
So, Cultural Hall, thank you so much. Did you have anything else you wanted to say before you left?
No, you guys rock. If anyone wants to watch my stuff, I've been posting things on YouTube. Feel free. Otherwise, have a great
this was it. A shameless plug. That's why you called.
Women and children are dying.
A little bit. No, I called for other reasons, but I'm going to get my plug in too.
I got a question for you.
He's been saying stuff like his channel hasn't grown as fast as you'd usually think. Hey, I'm a new ex-Mormon guy who edits all the sorts of stuff. Oh, I should have all the things. He's only got 500 or 600 subscribers or something like that.
Shit, man.
He says, well, but it's going to grow slowly and all that sort of stuff. But I guarantee you, they already did when we brawled with them on Twitter and said, oh, nobody cares about your channel. You don't have 300 things. Guess how many times we've advertised it out, Culture Hall? 0 times. We've gone 0 times to make a shameless plug somewhere for anybody, anywhere, at any time.
We have been doing a lot of sponsored ads lately, though.
Oh, yeah.
There are times
that's just money.
There are times when people hey, hey, you want to do something? Oh, I can. I'm doing something this evening. What are you doing? And I'm kind of it's embarrassing. Well, what? What are you doing? I'm well, it's podcasting. No, podcasting's cool. What do you talk about? we're ex-Mormons and we complain about ex-Mormons. Like,
Yeah.
really, it's not good. It's not good. You don't need to watch.
I have 0 people. Wait, maybe Doodles, but that's because he came on once to talk about music stuff anyway.
That was a good
I've told
episode,
0
too.
people in my regular life about stuff, and
Yeah.
then beyond that,
I told a couple people about, like, my mother-in-law. She'll be over every now and then, and she knows I'll do it on Thursdays, and she's like, "What's your podcast about today?" You
people
know,
being stupid,
abortion.
man. Abortion. People being shitty.
we're shitting on Exmo, and she's like very Mormon. She's like, "Oh, would I like it?" No.
No, there's nothing there for you.
That's all I say. Like, next time I start shitting on your culture hall, because it's gonna come in the future, you don't get to use the use my channel. Like, I'm not going around trying to pump it up everywhere like you are. Like, pop on everybody else's
I know.
channel and try to
And
get like a plug for it.
What a heartless fuck here. Like, Maven's over here trying to save lives. There's women and wanted children are fucking dying in Oklahoma. And you're like, "Oh, go on my YouTube channel."
Yeah. Anyway, whatever. Well, I mean, I guess that's about it on the abortion. Did we want to talk that much about the polygamy debate, or did we already just kind of cover it in the Michelle Stone sobs, even though that wasn't part of that debate? I didn't really watch the whole debate anyway.
I didn't watch any of it. I got this thing. This is
What
my
thing?
my coworker's from Alabama, and she went back to
yeah.
her old country.
With booze.
And she brought me this bottle of
booze
sweet
corner.
muscadine wine, and I just love this label because like you could
Oh,
not
wait.
sell this
I
anywhere
make this people
outside of
can't
the
read the
South.
label. Hold on, I got to remove the booze corner so they can read the label.
Oh.
Can I
But
make
yeah, it's
with
old
the
old
biggest?
South Blue Bayou sweet muscadine native one. So muscadine is the only native grape in the Americas, and it makes wine that is generally considered not to be very good. I would like this is like a $10 bottle, and frankly, I was surprised by it. It's really interesting, but I love this labeling
Blue?
more than anything. No, I mean the bottle's blue. It's a white wine. I mean you can make reds out of it, but can you imagine trying to market this anywhere outside of Mississippi right now today? Of Old South Blue Bayou, and this guy on this boat, like it's just so many microaggressions. Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. I like it.
Wait, why is it blue? Did you already say?
It's just the bottle is blue. It's just for color tinted. It's just a tinted colored bottle, but because they make different. Like this company, I guess they make 9 different muscadine wines. She just picked one randomly. And the other thing that was funny about it, she took a picture of the place. I don't know if it's worth the joke to go through all the trouble, but it's like this little shack. She was somewhere in rural Mississippi. And it was a liquor store that was literally just like this little shack. And even despite being a little shack, they have 2 American flags flying from it. Like it's just funny. Like the tiniest little place, there's like still enough room for 2 flags. 1 flag is not enough to fly.
Well, fun. Do you want to see? I guess we just do fun stuff now. If we're not going to talk about the polygamy debate, or did you want to say anything else on the polygamy debate?
I mean, I basically just compared it to flat Earth because
like
if you've ever heard people argue flat Earth, all they do is they ask like complex physics questions or whatever, or they look
that
for
stuff gets
anything-
complex on dates. Like, well, what was the date of July 13th? Hiram said this, and then on the date July 14th, and they're like, okay, I'm not gonna.
No, I know, and that's the thing that they'll be like, oh, but how did they fly to the moon and get through the Van Allen radiation belt? And I don't know what the Van Allen radiation belt is. Oh my God, you don't even know what the Van Allen. How can you have this conversation if you don't know what that is?
Because I barely understand the Van Allen radiation belt.
Heard that argument.
That was one of the first things they tested. Like when they were sending up satellites before they sent up crewed people, and then when they were sending up like the monkeys and dogs and stuff, that's exactly what they were testing: is can we survive the Van Allen radiation belt? And then they found out, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah. So, but they'll find little dumb thing because physics is pretty complex, and so they'll ask questions that your average person or even most physicists
It's like
don't know.
Terrence. It'll be like Terrence Howard stuff. They'll sound like Terrence Howard. It will be like,
oh yeah.
Have you heard of this Melendez guy's periodic table? Like, why don't you know how Melendez's periodic table?
One of my favorite things to do to
Forrest
remind
is
myself how
he's-
stupid I am. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jared.
No, you're good. Go on.
Because it's a thing I do like everyone's talks, like, just to make myself feel stupid is I'll just go to Wikipedia and I'll look up a mathematics article and read the first sentence and just discover that I understand none of it. So, like, for example, in mathematics, Hilbert spaces allow the methods of linear algebra and calculus to be generalized from parentheses finite dimensional close parentheses Euclidean vector spaces to spaces that may be infinite dimensional. Right? That's the first sentence. Like, this is the first sentence on a general knowledge article about math. And like, I know what mathematics is. I can understand that a David Hilbert was a guy.
Stereology math. I mean, that's probably easier math. You could probably understand that.
But anytime I read any of this stuff, I'm like, I don't like or Fourier analysis. In mathematics, Fourier analysis is the study of the way general functions may be represented or approximated by sums of simpler trigonometric functions. It's like, okay, like, I don't know what any of that is. Like, it's just words. Like, I have the vaguest understanding. I know trigonometry is triangles and that you can figure out all kinds of like angles and curves by breaking them into triangles. But that's literally my understanding of that.
Trigonometry was like my favorite class in high school. That's one of the
was
only.
it?
That was one of the only classes I liked. Part of it was because my teacher.
What is it?
Part of it because it's really interesting.
Like, how does it work? What's it do? You make the triangles?
Oh, I don't
Something
remember.
about a squared plus b squared is all the c squared.
Like a lot of that stuff nowadays. Like, if you look up memes, like GIFs, like moving GIFs of the stuff, you'll understand it better.
Which one's Alyssa Grenfell?
She's the one that wrote that book.
She's the
How to Leave the Mormon Church. She's. I haven't watched enough of her to know if I like her or not, but no. So Forrest made a funny comment. This is what I've been telling to everybody about the whole polygamy debate. Is it's baffling, but it's also hilarious as kind of an outsider, because you're watching the mainstream Orthodox Mormons say to the rebel Mormons, fuck you, don't blaspheme against my prophet. He definitely married that 14-year-old. And it's pretty funny to watch. But so I basically boiled down Michelle I was like, this is what I understand of Michelle Stone's arguments. It's this: 1, polygamy makes me sad. God wouldn't make me sad. 2, Joseph publicly denied doing polygamy and he wouldn't do that. 3, DNC 132 was published after his death. What's that? You have witnesses attesting it was written by him and the Nauvoo expositor used its exact verbiage while Smith was still alive? Brigham Young conspiracy. 4, Smith never proposed to anyone. What? You have multiple women claiming he did, with corroborated by multiple witnesses? Brigham Young conspiracy 2.0, body double edition. 5, what do you mean I should be subject to church discipline? All I'm saying is that every prophet except our first was steeped in pure apostasy. 6, sobs.
And then she read it. Oh man.
She sent me a flat Earth debate. She's like, I like this debate. I haven't listened to them much, but lean into it, lady. I don't care.
Like circles and angles and stuff.
Yeah, so this is basically. Do you remember hearing about the cosine and tan, and you just like plug in the different numbers, and usually most of the equations are like if you have 2 of those, you can figure out the third one type deal.
Yeah, it was fun. Honestly, I liked it. I
That's basically the entirety of it. Is just
because like, isn't that halfway to being a nuclear physicist? Couldn't you just go to school and learn all the math to find out the nuclear cross section of the?
So see,
uranium?
like stuff like waves and all that sorts of stuff. You can see how they're like related to circles and these different like concepts of laying.
Yeah, like I knew this whole thing about the sine and cosine being basically like the tracing a circle out in a line.
So basically, all of the equations that make that, and then you can see it better if you punch in the numbers. Because I remember like when we were, in the 90s or whatever, we couldn't like see it. We couldn't visualize it like this. We had to type it in those Texas Instrument shits. But like if I think at any point in time, I just like saw movement of it like back then like that, I would have been like, oh, ding, and then it just would have clicked, and I would have rolled with it. But
Christopher told me I would like Alyssa Grenfeld. She just promoted her first vibrator sponsorship recently. Use the code and come or something.
Totally.
have you seen like people who use these instruments to draw these like great big patterns and stuff like that too? So yes, it's cool stuff. But I think GIFs make all that stuff in the world easier. I think in the current day internet, it would be a lot easier to learn and visualize all that stuff. But what you can do? So they're selling the dildos, or the Grenfeld's selling the dildos. I mean, all these guys are kind of like gunning to start making their money off the thing, and well, that's just special, I guess. Make sure to set your calendars for Pride Month. It's time for Pride.
Oh man!
Lake Tribune. It's time for Pride. There are 2 Pride festivals planned this month: the Utah Pride Festival on June 1 through 2nd, and Salt Lake City Pride on June 27th to 30th. So it's Ramadan coming up. Make sure to never anything bad. We can't say anything bad about anybody during the Ramadan. Look at this. This was put up by James Lindsay on Instagram, and I had to click through a filter that said it was a fact checker false to get to it. Tolerance will reach such a level that
really really.
I had to click through a filter. Yeah, that's why it says that red thing right there. I had to.
This opinion got fact checked.
Actually, I think maybe
Dostoevsky quote. Yeah,
I think that honestly, I think the dispute they have with it is maybe Dostoevsky didn't really say that. I think I've heard that before.
Is that what it is? Well, yeah, not in those exact words, but
yeah. How do you say tolerance in Russian? I don't know if he said it or not. I'm just saying, like, maybe that's
that's why the
this
thing got put on there.
Because I don't know. It is hilarious when shit like that is like, no, that's not true.
You guys want to see a man who showed up to his court date for a suspended license?
I saw that on BBC, Zoom, but I didn't watch the video.
On Zoom while he was driving?
I only saw the story. I didn't see the actual video.
For Mr. Harris, who should be present in Zoom.
That's beautiful.
Mr. Harris, are you driving?
Actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office, actually. So just give me 1 second. I'm parking right now.
Wait.
That guy.
You stationary?
I'm pulling in right now at this second. Yes, I am.
All right. What are we doing?
Your Honor, we are respectfully requesting an adjournment in this matter, up possibly 2 to 4 weeks if the court would allow.
So maybe I don't understand something. This is a driving while license suspended?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And he was just driving, and he didn't have a license.
Stairs.
Oh.
That's what the charge is, Your Honor, yes.
No, I'm looking at his record. He doesn't have a license. He's suspended and he's just driving.
That is correct, Your Honor.
His poor attorney.
Oh. I don't even know why he would do that. So defendant's bond is revoked in this matter. Defendant is to turn himself into the Washington County Jail by 6 p.m. today. Failure to turn himself in will result in a bench warrant with no bond.
Like, that's one of those things where, like, I don't know, a little bit of planning. He could have even just pulled over to the side of the road and been like, "Here I am, Judge," and he'd have been okay. But yeah, that's
I just came out to my car in the driveway.
But this story made the BBC. This story made the BBC because it's just so astounding.
I like this quote Rob Henderson put to it. He's like, first I laughed, then I recalled the quote from Jung. It is often tragic to see how blatantly a man bungles his own life, yet remains totally incapable of seeing how much the whole tragedy originates in himself and how he continually feeds it and keeps it going. And then I laughed again. Did you see this? Tim Dillon's whole rant this week, which was hilarious, but it was going off of that Kate Blanchett says she's
look,
middle class.
I mean, I'm white, I'm privileged, I'm middle class, and
one can be accused of having a bit of a white savior.
She's worth $95 million.
She's middle class.
So Tim Dillon's whole episode was just ranting on how 95 is middle class now because that's how much you need or something like that. It was a real funny episode. I don't know what else to pull up. Here's a
Jen Camp didn't do a stupid this week, did she?
No,
I
she's
don't think she
legally
did.
not allowed to.
But also, like, yeah, notice, like, because
Oh yeah, she had to pull it down.
The same way that Jen Camp became the boss of Ex-Mormon World, Maven became the boss of Ex-Mormon World.
Yeah, RFM had a podcast episode talking about her being told to cease and desist and pull all the stuff down.
Yeah, I did see that.
Here's a thing that showed like something that nostalgia seems to hit at the same single age for everybody. It's like nostalgia is right around 10 years old for people. Trending tab. Boobs went way down. Donate to Trump went way up today at about 2:40. People got off the porn and got straight to donating.
That's amazing.
There's a phenomenon where people are more interested in ass now than boobs by a lot, like a disgusting amount. Millennials are obsessed with eating ass. They never shut up about it.
Really?
I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with us.
That stuff. I don't understand the things. There's so many of the fetish things, and I don't get any of them.
Did you see this? That they're doing a massive manhunt because this guy did the donut on the pride flag.
Felony count of criminal mischief?
Yeah. If they catch him, they can't catch him. He did a donut on the pride.
I mean, you shouldn't do donuts on, like, vandalism is bad. But
No.
also, like, the idea, like, oh, this is something we need to do a manhunt over.
Yeah, I guess.
Like,
so.
if you're, I'm almost to the point where I don't care if you vandalize. Like, if your community is putting up religious symbolism, like, fuck it.
Yeah. I can't show South Park, can I? We had the South Park Ozempic. What did you guys think of it?
It was pretty good. I need to watch it again. I always find with the newer South Parks, the specials, like rewatching them, I seem to pick up on a layer of stuff that I missed the first time.
Yeah, I could probably watch it again, although I was kind of expecting them to dump on the concept of Ozempic, and it seemed like they're all up on Ozempic, actually. They just think you should have access to it. From what I gathered.
This is funny. Our chat isn't even listening to us. They're just
they're talking about
trigonometry.
Oh, they've gone into mathematical stuff.
We are so boring.
They've been talking about
tricks.
tricks.
Talking about trigonometry.
We got to keep it going so they can keep the conversation going. If I shut it down, they can't
do
talk
some bad
about
karaoke.
Solve something.
Yeah, we should listen to a culch. That's what I think we should do. It's been a while.
A culch?
Yeah.
Of one of the songs?
Yeah, one of his shitty songs.
Or do you want to listen to like one of his episodes or something? Because they're only
I
like 5 minutes.
I was thinking one of his stupid songs, but I don't care.
Do you have one or?
No, I don't. I listened to the Temple Spire one, which was just terrible.
Oh.
That was the one that I was telling you irritated me because
that whole debate's so irritating because
it's annoying.
Who cares on both sides? It's just
that
NIMBYism.
Yeah, but that was him. It's that irritating musical thing where they take the syllable and move it. I mean, they take the emphasis of a word and move it to a different syllable, so it just sounds stupid.
The shoehorn.
Mormons think masturbation is a sin. Parody song. Oh,
you're not on that page. Oh, there you go.
I was finding them. That him or is that he
that
took that video? No, he took that video off of online. I think I saw him saying that somewhere else. He lined up the video of somebody else playing on his video. He doesn't. I haven't seen him play yet.
Oh, this was one of his first ones. This is actually one of his better ones.
Frog City of Naboo, where I cheated on Emma with you.
You were just 14 and it felt so right. Sleeping with girls that were not my wife.
Yeah, I saw him on one of the things, or on a Mormon News Roundup. He said this was just video of somebody else playing.
Alrighty. What? Oh, jeez, how many of these are there?
I mean, he's been doing it on TikTok for a while, so it's not like
Shout, shout,
Hosanna,
shout. These
terrible.
are the Kleenex we wave about. Come on. I'm chanting at you. Come on.
That's pretty bad.
Shout.
Hosanna.
It's not the worst. Like, I wouldn't just.
I gotta bail in a minute. Are we about done?
You can call it good if they're done with the. Yeah, that's fine.
These are really
So
bad.
you think they were comedians?
Ah.
They'd rather accept the easy answer than admit it was made up by a fraudster. Look at all these crazy statements.
Terrible.
I'm still. I'll do a. Oh, they're still talking. They're still talking math stuff over there.
They are. They're out of control. Alrighty, I gotta bail.
You gotta roll.
Yeah.
Should we call it the goods?
Yeah. That's
I don't want to cut off your guys's hit up the longhouse to finish up your talking on the cos, sine, and tan.
I don't
Is
think
that what
Forrest.
they're pronouncing?
Forrest doesn't know. It's cosine and tangent, but yeah, it's Forrest doesn't know about the group. It's the Longhouse. It's there's a whole reference to it, but it's also a Facebook group. That's what they keep telling you to join. It's just Latter-day Longhouse.
Latter-day Longhouse. Yeah, it's just basically.
It's where the dozens of us talk.
All of us around here. Yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna do my Cultural Hog parody. I'm gonna actually put on the stuff. I've got the sweet. Right on. Okay, I don't think there's anything else tonight. I'll put up. I'm gonna do the Ricky Stedman parody, because he talked about it on Mormons. He talked about it on Mormonism Live, about how he's not Richie Stedman, which
That was
Richie
pretty
Stedman
funny,
was
'cause they were
X96 guy here, and my whole joke is using what is it, that song from Richmond, north of Richmond. I'm gonna do Cultural Halls Ain't Richie Stedman. So that will. I've even got a wig to do it in and stuff. So sweet. Looks like Forrest is in the Longhouse.
Nice.
Welcome to the Longhouse, where the den mother keeps you in line. Make sure that you're not stepping out of it ever.
Yeah, don't be a fucking bigot.
No bigotry. Yeah. Okay, doke. Well, I think that's about it.
Cool.
So,
We'll see ya.
thanks for tuning in, buddy.
Yep.